Good evening. Hello. We'd like to start the meeting. Good evening. This is the Wednesday, the 24th meeting of zoning. We have about 9 items on our agenda tonight, so we really need to do everything we can to move as quickly as possible to get through our agenda. The first thing I'd like to do is to do a roll. Lenny Petricelli.
Here.
Dion Francis.
Here.
Deborah Lamberti.
Here.
Jim Vigliotti.
Here.
And myself, Harold Watson, here. We also have our planning and zoning person, and we also have our zoning lawyer and our zoning secretary. So without further ado, I would like to...
Excuse me, Harold, there's 2 alternates too, I believe, in the audience.
But we don't need them necessarily. We have 2 alternates here.
Yes, you do. Linda's right here. I'm here.
Linda Manos is one of our alternates. Who else is here? Rich. Fredette is standing in the back, should we need anybody to fill in for us. So I would like to open the public hearing. I am going to ask everybody to keep their comments under 2 minutes since we have such a large audience. Please make sure that when we get to the public portion of it, that if you can, try not to repeat what someone else has just said. Our secretary here is being very thoughtful in taking notes, and this whole event is being recorded. So everything will be there for the record. Jake, can we take these 3 as one block?
Well, we're going to start item number 1. We can have the commissioners read.
Okay. Lenny, will you read text amendment number 1?
Yes, petition of the Stratford Zoning Commission seeking to extend the moratorium on.
Start again. Petition of the Stratford Zoning Commission seeking to extend the moratorium on methadone clinics.
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to just give a quick overview. At the informal discussion over the last few months, we were instructed to pull together and propose an extension of the moratorium for methadone clinics. The last moratorium was approved in 2021. At that time, the Zoning Commission was considering exploring whether or not there were locations in town that might be appropriate to allow for methadone clinics to apply for a special case application. There has been no study that's been done or further work by the Zoning Commission or the Planning Commission at this time. We did receive comments from the Stratford Planning Commission at their meeting on May 23rd, 2023. The Planning Commission gave a favorable recommendation to adopt a 24-month moratorium until October 15th, 2025. The reason being the proposed text amendment is consistent with the town of Stratford's 2013 Plan of Conservation and Development, as cited in the Planning and Zoning Administrator's staff comments. I'm happy to answer any further questions if anyone has any.
I'll move that we extend it to October 15th, 2025.
And we'll have time to vote and discuss about maybe any further conditions or recommendations during our administrative session once the public hearing portion is closed. But if there's no further comment from the commission, we can see if there's anyone in support or opposition.
We should announce that should any items on tonight's agenda take more time than anticipated, this public hearing may conclude at 11 o'clock and be continued to another date, which we will establish at that time. Any items not heard by 11 o'clock tonight will be heard at that continued public hearing.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, actually, yes, but it's written here as at 11. We haven't changed this. Thank you. Is there anybody here tonight who would be in support of this text amendment from, concerning the moratorium on methadone clinics? I'll ask again. Anybody in favor? To extend the moratorium on methadone clinics? Is there anybody opposed to extend the methadone clinics? I have one person, please come up.
We have to close this and vote on it later, I think.
Please give us your name and your address.
Yeah.
My name is Kathleen Callahan, 271 Castle Drive. Not prepared to speak on this, but I thought you were just doing a call out. I'm opposed because I think that we just keep kicking this down the road. We keep extending this moratorium every 2 years, and no study is done, and I'm curious if there is a need in this community for a methadone clinic. I don't know why there hasn't been a study done, and I wonder if any of the commissioners can answer that question. Because we do know that there is a deep need for this treatment, a very deep need for this treatment in this area. The numbers are very high in the town of Stratford for opioid use and opioid overdoses. And fentanyl is still here and getting worse. So I'm just curious why it's not even, a study hasn't been done. It doesn't make any sense to me. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. So anybody else?
Okay?
Hearing none? Okay, because we're going to handle that in administrative. Okay.
Second.
Well, we're not seconding anything.
Second
Oh,
to close. Second
we're
to
second,
close
I'm
the
sorry,
next
yes. All in favor?
one. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So it's 5-0. Dion, can you read number 2, please?
Text amendment, petition of the Stratford Zoning Commission seeking to extend a moratorium on self-storage facilities.
Thank you,
Jay?
Commissioner Francis. So this was a 12-month moratorium on self-storage facilities that was adopted last year by this commission. It was proposed by the Stratford Economic Development Commission in response to the overwhelming number of self-storage facilities that were being proposed in town. This commission kind of had its hands tied in terms of their ability to say no to many of these applications based on their compliance with the zoning regulations. The Economic Development Commission provided statistics about self-storage facilities per resident, and based on what was approved by the Zoning Commission over the past, I'd say, 5 or 10 years, that we were well over the industry standard for self-storage space per resident. So the Economic Development Commission felt that we were at our saturation point and asked the Zoning Commission to adopt a moratorium. There has been no further work Although we still are occasionally getting inquiries about self-storage facilities, there are no applications that are being taken, so this moratorium was set to expire. Therefore, I have the proposal to extend the moratorium on the self-storage facilities for a 24-month period until June 15th, 2025, or lift it at any point should the commission feel that the regulation is no longer working and wants to open the doors back up to self-storage. At the Planning Commission meeting held May 23rd, 2023, the Planning Commission gave a favorable recommendation to place a 24-month moratorium until June 15th, 2025, with the reason being the proposed text amendment is consistent with the Town of Stratford's 2013 Plan of Conservation and Development as cited by the Planning and Zoning Administrator's staff comments. I'm happy to answer any questions from the Commission, if you have any.
You said there's an option if at some point we decided to withdraw it, we could.
Absolutely. So the commission could instruct planning and zoning staff to rescind and prepare an application to rescind the moratorium, essentially going back to the way that it was prior.
Okay, thank you.
We taking, no. Is there anybody here who wants to speak on this? A representative of a storage facility? No. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of this petition? That's for a moratorium, essentially for 2 more years. No. I don't see any hands. Is there anybody who wish to speak in opposition to this amendment? Anybody in opposition? Hearing none.
Make a motion that we close number 2 text amendment on the agenda, the public portion.
I second.
We are now going to go down to the next 3.
We have to vote.
Oh, sorry.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Barry, are you handling the next 3? Yes. So you're doing Platypus, Washington, and... okay. So, Deborah, can you read all 3 together?
Text amendment, petition of Platypus Partners, LLC, seeking to amend 8.2.2 non-marine uses in WF and 15.8 add restaurant liquor permits in WF. 24 Washington Parkway and 40-60 Beach Drive, petition of Platypus Partners seeking special case approval to establish a food truck park on 3 undeveloped lots in a WF zone. A coastal site plan review has also been submitted with this application. 24 Washington Parkway and 40-60 Beach Drive, petition of Platypus Partners, LLC, seeking an approval of liquor location to establish a Class D restaurant liquor permit incidental to a food truck park in a WF zone.
It's obvious to me that we do have someone speaking for the parties. Mr. Knott, can you identify yourself?
Yes, my name is Barry Knott. I'm a lawyer with the firm of Knott & Dunn, with offices at 1656 Main Street. I'm here this evening on behalf of Platypus Partners, LLC, owner of the Little Pub Restaurant and Surfside Hotel at the foot of Washington Boulevard in Stratford. With me is the managing member of Platypus, Doug Grape, who sits behind me in the first row. And at this time, I'd like to submit the certificates of mailing a photo of the posted sign, and the statutorily required filing with the town clerk's office. And make reference to a folder of exhibits, which I just handed to each of you and to which I'll be making reference during the course of my presentation. Now, this hearing is in reference to applications I submitted on behalf of my client for a zone text amendment, a special case application, an application for approval of a liquor permit, a CAM application, and a proposed site plan to operate a food truck park, allowing for the sale of food and alcoholic beverages, together with the rental or sales of retail products such as kayaks, paddle boats, beach chairs, towels, umbrellas, suntan lotion, kites, bicycles, and the holding of yoga classes, movie nights, open-air markets, or any similar commercial water-dependent use complementary to the town beach and the public seawall at the foot of Washington Parkway at Beach Drive. This property is located in a WF waterfront business district. This property is also owned by the same entity that owns the Little Pub Restaurant and Seaside Hotel across Washington Parkway, bordering the town beach. Doug, as I indicated, is the managing member, and he's here to answer any questions you may have after my presentation. Now, at this time, I want to take you through the photographs, which are exhibits 1 through 7 of the handout that I just gave you. Exhibits 1, 2, or 3 are general promotional photos of the Little Pub and Surfside Hotel. Exhibit 4 is a photo of the lobby of the hotel. Exhibit 5 is a photo of a typical room in the hotel. Exhibit 6 is a typical of a typical kitchen area in a room in the hotel. And Exhibit 7 is a photo of a happy couple who had just gotten married at the hotel and restaurant, from Lordship, by the way. So those of you who are familiar with the former Marnix restaurant and hotel, which had been at this site previously, can see from these photographs that this current facility is not your father's Oldsmobile. My client bought this property in March of 2019 for $2.2 million, and then spent an additional $500,000 renovating the restaurant. The Little Pub Restaurant was opened in September of 2019. My client then spent an additional $1.5 million renovating the hotel, which was opened in August of 2020 during the height of the pandemic travel restrictions. COVID had happened, if you'll recall, in early 2020. In May 2020, my client purchased a lot across Washington Parkway from the restaurant and hotel for $450,000. This lot is the subject of tonight's hearing. This represents a total of $4.65 million that my client has invested in Stratford at this location. Now, I normally would not get into the issue of acquisition price and fix-up costs in a presentation such as this. It's not really typically relevant. It is tonight, however. I think it's important for you to know the extent of my client's investment in this property and in Stratford, because I've heard anecdotal comments from people who claim that my client's operation at this location is going to attract the wrong kind of people, whatever that means, okay? However, there is a circumstance of which you should be aware, which occurred here in the summer of 2020, which may have given rise to some of these comments. If you recall, this was the initial COVID summer, 2020. At that time, all town and state beaches were operating at limited capacity, and the Lordship Seawall and the beach there were among the only beaches in the tri-state area open to the public with no restrictions. This circumstance brought in all sorts of people from out of state and elsewhere. This resulted in traffic and parking issues at our location. These people were not my client's customers, but he got painted with this chaotic brush unfairly. Subsequently, as the pandemic abated and things calmed down in 2021 and 2022, these problems ceased to exist. With the amount of money that my client has invested in this property, he is not likely to encourage any untoward behavior at this location. It would be crazy for him to do so. The Surfside is now a destination hotel. Now, what is a destination hotel? A destination is a hotel where people intentionally come to this hotel to enjoy, in this case, the hotel and its waterfront location and amenities. Other hotels, Trumbull Marriott, for instance, attract guests because they have to stay there, they're here for business, some kind of an event, a holiday, they're in town to visit somebody. And that type of hotel and a destination hotel are significantly different. The economic demographics, as published by one of the hospitality magazines that I have seen, indicates that the spillover financial effect benefiting the local community from a destination hotel is approximately 10 times greater than the financial effect resulting from a non-destination hotel. That spillover effect, financial spillover effect into the community, which is into Stratford, 10 times greater than what the Trumbull Marriott would generate, okay? This is significant for Stratford. Demographically, after my client got up and running, he did a demographic study to determine what his demographic customer would be. And it turns out that my client's target customer is a 38-year-old married mother of two. That's who is typically, that type of person is typically attracted to this hotel for one reason or another. My client has no intention of ruining his successful business at this location by allowing some sort of wild frat party operation at the lot across the street from his restaurant and hotel. It's not going to happen. Now, what are we proposing? We're proposing outdoor dining and live entertainment, provided that in lieu of a principal building, which is normally on a site, you put up a principal building, maybe some accessory buildings. A permitted use on this particular site may include a food truck park operated by one or more vendors with a maximum of 4 such vehicles, 2 of which may serve beer, wine, or liquor. That doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be 2 and 2. There may be 3 and 1, there may be 4 and 0. But the mix is, whatever the mix happens to be for that particular event. The proposed regulations requires all equipment and vehicles located on the site to be highway road ready and capable of immediate removal from the site in the case of a storm event. The seasonal sale or rental of boats, kayaks, paddle boats, beach chairs, towels, umbrellas, suntan lotions, kites, bicycles, and the holding of yoga classes, movie nights, open-air markets, or any similar use is also included in our proposal. The subject property is 27,934 square feet in size. We are proposing food and beverage service 7 days a week between 12 noon and 9 p.m. Food service will be a combination of food trucks offering food and beverages that guests will be able to enjoy at the 24 on-site picnic tables to be located here. We are requesting permission to offer our patrons live entertainment on non-repeating days, so not every day, non-repeating days, and non-recurrent 3-hour windows. So you have music from noon to 3, then there's no music from 3 to 6. So they got to be no more than 3-hour blocks on non-recurring days and non-recurring 3-hour blocks. Stipulated between the hours of noon and 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, noon to 5 p.m. Friday and Saturday, and noon to 6 p.m. on Sunday. That's what we're suggesting to be appropriate hours of operation. I'll say it again. Noon to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, noon to 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday, and noon to 6 p.m. on Sunday. Entertainment would include local amplified acoustic musicians playing their original music, or amplified cover bands playing popular music, and the occasional comedian, magician, or DJ. The volume of music will comply with the dictates of the town's noise ordinance. All entertainment will face in a south-southwesterly direction towards Beach Drive and Long Island Sound and away from the surrounding residences and businesses. I want to mention the noise ordinance. Excuse me. Stratford's got a noise ordinance that says you're not allowed to generate more than X number of decibels, depending upon what day of the week it is, and what time of the day it is, and what kind of neighborhood you're in. So those three variables determine the amount of decibels that can be generated from a site. Now, the limitation is not from my site to Lenny's kitchen window. The limitation goes from my site to the property line between my property and Lenny's property. So we are not allowed to increase the decibel level beyond the border of our property. It is a very strict noise ordinance in the town of Stratford benefiting the citizens. And what we're saying to you is that we're going to abide by it, and we will abide by it. We are proposing 24 removable picnic tables with 2 portable restrooms and a hand washing station in a discrete location on the lot. In addition, there are 4 restrooms that are available for customers across the street at the Little Pub. Exterior lighting is provided by string lights on the site. They're up now already, as well as light posts at the entrance of the parking lot section of the property. All lights will be turned off after closing. The lot itself is a combination of gravel parking, crushed shell customer area, and a natural sand border. The permeable surfaces will remain intact. And that's important because any conservationist will tell you they want permeable surfaces near large water bodies to protect the cleanliness of the large water bodies. A natural border already exists at the southern and western property lines. Mature vegetation already exists on the northern and eastern property line, and my client has added native seagrass and decorative screening plants along the eastern and northern borders, and where appropriate on the southern and western borders. The property is located in Stratford's waterfront business district. Other permitted uses in this zone, just so you know what can go in this zone, include launching ramps, recreational and commercial boating docks, shipyards, boat repair facilities, marine research labs, vertical marine storage, and travel lifts, restaurants, and retail and service establishments. That's what's permitted under the waterfront business district. Up to 25% of the lot area can be covered with building. In this case, because of the 29,000 square foot size of the building, about 6,900 square feet of footprint can go on this site on one floor. The height limitation in this zone is 30 feet. Within 30 feet, you can construct 2.5 stories of building, theoretically allowing up to a 17,000 square foot building on this site if it were to be 2.5 stories. A 2-story building would contain approximately 13,800 square feet, not small buildings. Because this property is located within a flood zone, the FEMA flood elevation regulations require. In this area, there is a minimum flood elevation of 11 feet. The elevation of this property is now well below 11 feet at elevation 6 or 7. That means that no portion of the building to be inhabited by humans can be below 11 feet. So if it's currently at 7 or 6 and it's got to be at 11, that means there's going to be another 4 or 5 feet of height generated on top of the 30 feet that were allowed under the zoning regulations. Therefore, any permanent structure to be constructed on this property would have to have its lowest inhabited floor at 11 feet. Therefore, the 30-foot height limitation begins at 11 feet, not 7 feet. Accordingly, any permanent structure located on the site will be substantially higher than the 30-foot limitation called for in the zoning regulations. Now, coincidentally, I represented the owner of this property, not Doug, prior owner, who had purchased the property after the Skipper's and Allen's East restaurants had burnt down on the site. It was vacant. Property was zoned residential, and this guy is from Westport, and he bought the property and he wanted to come in for 3 single-family houses, and I did the subdivision for him. The subdivision was approved. However, at the public hearing, and this was remarkable, I was proposing an improvement of the zoning use of the property from commercial, it had been a restaurant, to residential, single-family residential. But because of the height of these single-family houses, had to be, because of the FEMA regulation, they were going to be high. The neighborhood came out in force opposing 3 single-family houses, which I found remarkable. But the reason why they did is because these 3 houses were going to block their views of the water from up Washington Parkway and West Hillside and the other streets that are in that area. The same thing is going to happen here if a permanent structure gets built on this property under one of these other permitted uses. And this is the reason why we're proposing a food truck park. There will be no permanent structure on this site if it is approved as a food truck park. Therefore, the FEMA flood elevation of 11 feet doesn't apply. We don't have to bump everything up to 11 feet because these food truck parks are going to be movable. The storm comes, they're gone. So the FEMA coordinator in this town has indicated to us that these structures do not have to comply with the FEMA regulations, thereby eliminating the possibility that any structure is going to get built on the site that's going to block the views of the neighbors. Nobody's views will be impaired. Now, let me tell you what's been going on here in the past. Exhibit 8 is a photo of a 2022 Halloween trunk or treat party where the property was available for a few hundred kids to celebrate Halloween in a safe manner. Exhibit 9 is a photo from April 26, 2023, showing the Sterling House Travel soccer team kickoff event. Exhibit 9 is a photo from April 26, 2023, showing the Sterling House, Exhibit 10 is a photo of persons waiting for one of the road races to begin. There have been a couple of road races down there. Exhibit 11 is another photo of a road race where the money collected from this race were donated to Toys for the Bridgeport Hospital Kids Wing. Exhibit 12 is a photo of the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown movie night. Exhibit 13 is a photo of the annual Polar Plunge, which in this case raised $8,000 for Make-A-Wish, Connecticut. Exhibit 14 shows the logo of a joint venture between Two Roads Brewery, of which we are all familiar, and the Surfside Hotel regarding the manufacture of Lordship Lager. Exhibits 15, 16, and 17 are permits received by my client in 2022. 15 is for an open-air market, 16 was for the movie night, 17 was for yoga events, in 2022, 14 Lordship open markets were held in July and August, raising $2,240 for the Lordship Improvement Association. In August and September, 8 Lordship Fathers Club movie nights were held. 2 road races were sponsored with the cooperation of Lordship resident Marty Schiavone. One called Miles for Margaritas, where the proceeds were donated to the Stratford YMCA, and the other called Run for Toys, benefiting Bridgeport Hospital. My client also applied for a beach cleanup permit in cooperation with the Maritime Aquarium for a beach cleanup which took place in September of 2022. My client also partnered and volunteered at multiple other beach cleanups in association with the Clean Earth Project and the adjacent condominium association, where all the cottages are located on the other side of my client's property. My client is also the lead sponsor for the 2023 WICC Greatest Bluefish Tournament on Earth. Now, parking. You will note from the permits received for the special events that I just made reference to, exhibits 15, 16, and 17, that one condition of these approvals was that my client would coordinate with the recreation superintendent or a local church to secure satellite parking in order to support any additional parking needed due to the event that was taking place. In that event, in that regard, my client made arrangements with Reverend Jeff Lukens of the Lordship Community Church to use his parking lot, and with Amy Knorr, the superintendent of the Stratford Recreation Department, to use the parking lot at Lordship School in the event of overflow parking at any of these events. Should that overflow parking scenario unfold, my client will have golf carts available to shuttle people back and forth from the overflow parking lots to the facility. Now, Exhibit 18 is a staff comment from Jay regarding it's dated February 23, regarding the 2022 approvals that I just made reference to. In this exhibit, Jay conditioned the approvals upon the applicant returning in January of every year to review the proposed program for the upcoming year. He also made note of the fact that there had been no zoning complaints or violations identified as a result of the 2022 approvals, and that there were no concerns in his office about these 2022 approvals. Now, my client has no objection to an annual review of his operations down there. And I think it's a reasonable thing for Jay to suggest, and I think it's a reasonable thing for us to agree to, because this is a new thing. We think we got it under control. If there is a problem, we need to identify the problem, fix the problem, and the way to do that is to have an annual review in January of every year where Jay calls us in and says, hey, we got to deal with this, we got to deal with that, whatever it may be. Now, as far as Jay's administrative comments are concerned, he addresses the consistency of the proposed text amendment with the plan of conservation and development. Could you get me a cup of water? Share that machine. Now, I want to read to you what Jay's observations are regarding compliance with the plan of conservation and development. Number one, to increase wealth and opportunity throughout the region by collaborating on business recruitment and retention strategies. Our plan is consistent with that. Two, to enhance the gateway experience between communities by land and water. We are consistent. Number three, to ensure compatibility in zoning, land use, and design on adjacent lands. We are consistent. To identify opportunities for the redevelopment and revitalization of character areas. Thanks. Thank you. We are consistent. The town will preserve and enhance the character of its unique neighborhood for overall community revitalization. We are consistent. Leverage iconic buildings, landscapes, and open space as a means to identify and brand the community. We are consistent. To simplify the zoning code to increase its usefulness and understanding, we are consistent. To streamline the development approval process to assure the development which are consistent with the town's development regulations, we are consistent. Update the town's zoning code to reflect future land use plan that will provide increased development and opportunities in appropriate areas. We are consistent. Zone mixed-use commercial nodes along the waterfront according to future land use plan. To identify areas in town for redevelopment and reuse for industrial, commercial, and retail, we are consistent. To connect visitors to the natural, cultural, and historic resources to grow the tourism industry, we are consistent. Retain existing businesses, we are consistent. The town will encourage appropriate waterfront commercial development, we are consistent. To leverage the town's waterfronts to stimulate appropriate private development and economic growth, we are consistent. To develop an iconic brand for the town as a world-class waterfront community, we are consistent. The town will make every effort to conserve and enhance waterfront properties, we are consistent. The town will leverage its waterfront appropriately for iconic commercial and mixed-use development. We are consistent. Finally, to expand public access opportunities to the town waterfront. We are consistent. Now, I've been standing at this microphone doing these presentations as a lawyer for 49 years. And I have never received, an application that I presented has never received so many consistent observations as far as compliance with the town's plan of conservation and development as that which I just read to you. As to his comments on the special case application, Jay points out that this property was the location of a former restaurant prior to a fire, that more recently the applicant had operated an outdoor dining establishment at this location and was allowed to do so as a result of the governor's executive orders during the pandemic. He points out that any complaints that he received were not legitimate zoning violations. He also states that outdoor dining at this location has proved to be an interesting new dining option that attracts residents and visitors to Stratford's waterfront. He points out that my client also received approvals to host seasonal events, movie nights, open-air markets, yoga, and state that these temporary events appear to have been operated effectively without any complaints to the zoning office. Jay also raises concerns about the temporary accessory structures, including the dumpster and the portable restrooms. He recommends that the dumpster be located on a pad with an enclosure including additional screening to minimize its impact on neighbors. We are happy to work with Jay post-approval to formalize the details of the dumpster location and its attendant pad and screening. We would do the same thing with regard to the portable restrooms. Jay suggests a higher-end mobile restroom that can be relocated should a coastal flood event occur. We are happy to handle this with Jay the same way we do the dumpster. Now, Jay discusses comments he received from other town departments and recommends the following stipulations as conditions of approval. A minimum of one appropriately marked ADA parking space shall be designated. The applicant shall work with the traffic authority to evaluate continuing the existing crosswalk access along Washington Parkway in an effort to connect pedestrians to the other side of the street and the public beach. In that regard, I can advise you that the traffic authority has already approved the creation of an additional 8 parking spaces in the esplanade at the end of Washington Parkway. These spaces will be constructed in the fall when Washington Parkway will be repaved after the construction work at that condominium project down on Washington Parkway is completed and the summer use of Washington Parkway is over. As a condition of approval, Jay suggests that the applicant shall pay close attention to nuisances like noise, odors, and agree to resolve any such issues immediately. The business shall operate in strict compliance with the noise ordinance. All requirements made by the town engineer, the fire marshal, conservation, building official, and the health department will be strictly followed by us. I hereby stipulate that we agree to all of those conditions of approval. Jay then discusses the application for approval of liquor location and inquires how the applicant intends to manage the sale and consumption of alcohol on this site. The sale of alcohol at this location will be monitored by an on-site manager of this location employed by my client. The management of this location as to the sale of alcohol will be no different than the sale of alcoholic beverages on any other outdoor dining facility in town. I've gotten half of them approved myself. The issue of, well, how are you going to keep people from walking out of the thing into the street with a bottle of beer in their hand? That comes up all the time. Simply put, this location is a privately owned restaurant. The only people who should be on site will be customers of the site. They will be monitored by the manager, and no alcoholic beverage will be allowed off the premises. This is exactly the same as it is across the street at the Little Pub outdoor deck and every other outdoor dining facility in the town of Stratford. It isn't a big deal. Now, you got to remember, 7 years ago, outdoor dining was prohibited in Stratford. We didn't have any outdoor dining. It was against the zoning regulation. And then gradually, we had one or two, and people realized that they liked outdoor dining. And the whole tenor of permitting outdoor dining changed in town. Now we got them all over the place. They're not a big deal. Jay points out in his comments that assuming best practice protocols are in place, the sale of alcohol is a customarily incidental service to the restaurant industry, of which my client's facility will be a part. As to Jay comments on the CAM site plan approval, he suggests the following conditions of approval. A storm contingency plan shall be drafted and delivered to the Office of Planning and Zoning, detailing the protocols in place to relocate all mobile structures when a coastal flooding event occurs. In that regard, I make reference to my Exhibit 19, which is a copy of our proposed storm contingency plan. This storm contingency plan is similar to the one that was approved for the special case approval for the food truck park at 638 Selby's Pond Road, down by Bond's Dock, approved by this commission on May 25th, 2022. Exhibit 20 is a copy of your approval letter for that facility. Discuss these special case application criteria set forth in section 20.2.1 of the zoning regulations. I think there are 7. The proposed use shall be in conformance with all requirements of the district in which it is located. This proposed use is located on a waterfront business district. It's a business use with water-associated amenities, and as Jay pointed out in his administrative comments, it's consistent with the town plan of conservation and development. Number 2, the location, size, and intensity of such use shall be compatible and harmonious in relation to the size of the property and existing neighborhood development. This site is in excess of 29,000 square feet. The use as proposed is compatible with the size of the property. By use of the food truck park, rather than a permanent structure which would have to comply with the FEMA flood elevations, the property is being designed in a way that does not impede any water views of neighbors farther up Washington Parkway or the adjacent streets. The proposed use shall be in conformance with the town plan of conservation. I just read you 35 reasons why we're in compliance with the town plan of conservation and development. The proposed use shall not affect safety in the streets, nor increase traffic congestion in the area, nor interfere with a pattern of highway circulation. As I indicated earlier, and as Jay suggested as a condition of approval, my client has been working with the traffic authority and will continue to work with the traffic authority in order to improve or create appropriate crosswalk facilities from this site to the seawall and from this site to the public beach, seaward of the hotel. Additionally, my client has been working with the traffic authority already to add 8 parking spaces at the Esplanade at the end of Washington Parkway, and will be adding an additional 29 parking spaces on his site at this location. The emission of noise, light, smoke, odor, gas, dust, or vibration shall not adversely affect land, water, or air quality. I have already indicated my client's compliance with the noise ordinance. I have already addressed the issue of site lighting while the facility is open, the string lights, which will be turned off after the site closed. There should be no adverse smoke, odor, gas, dust, or vibration emanating from this facility, which would affect land, water, or air quality. Not going to happen. The proposed use shall not adversely affect the valuation of neighboring properties as a result of the proposed use. I have already indicated to you that my client has invested $4.65 million at this location. His facilities as they exist today, compared to how they appeared under the former ownership, represent a significant improvement to the area. My client's contribution to the quality of life in Lordship as a result of his advent to town is remarkable. Exhibit 21 in my handout is a notice from the Stratford Partnership for Youth and Families, Stratford Partnership for Youth and Families, announcing its 2023 annual award winners, indicating that my client is being presented by the partnership with an award for his service to Stratford youth and families at its meeting tomorrow night at 6 p.m. right here. He's getting an award from the town. This award results from the very uses we are proposing for approval tonight. All the stuff he's doing for the kids and for raising money for all the other stuff that's proposed for this location. The proposed use shall not create any fire or police hazards. Bob Daniel, the fire marshal, simply pointed out that the food trucks will have to be inspected by his office and the health department. Well, I certainly hope so. And obviously, my client is not going to engage the services of any facility which had not gone through this inspection process. The police department, by the way, had no comments. Now, there's a letter from Mary Dean, Director of Economic Development, in support of this application. That's Exhibit 22. And Exhibit 23 is a petition in favor of this project. 102 signatures appear as part of the handwritten petition, and another 102 appear on the digital petition, for a total of 200 persons speaking in favor of this application. I can't tell how many of them were from Lordship, because not all addresses are identified. I did count the ones on the handwritten petition, and I think 48 of the 102 signatures on the handwritten were from Lordship residents. Now, in any event, this proposal is one that has broad support within the community and with the town administration. My client is a very responsible businessman who is successful, who has invested a substantial amount of money in Stratford at this location. He is not going to allow any activity in proximity to his restaurant hotel which will impair the significantly improved valuation of his restaurant and hotel. This is basic common sense, and these applications deserve to be approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Knott?
Barry, can you tell me the proposed hours of operation again, please?
Yes. I think I can, Jim. Let me just clean up my act here a little bit.
So those are basically,
Okay. Food and beverage service 7 days a week between 12 noon and 7 p.m. Just food and beverage, all right? We are requesting permission for live entertainment on non-repeating days and non-recurrent 3-hour blocks stipulated between the hours of noon and 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, noon to 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday, and noon to 6 p.m. on Sunday. Every other day, and non-recurrent 3-hour blocks.
Barry, can you help us out? Because we worked very hard on this, and the owner has been very cooperative on getting this done over 2 years.
Yeah.
So could you, based on what you're giving us as this new presentation, lace that back into what we had asked for in the current, in our current stipulation? We gave a list of items, including times and all of that.
Who's we? Who's we, Harold?
Zoning.
I'm
We
sorry?
spent a lot of time on it in zoning. And we gave, it was acceptable. That's what the basis of the operation for the last 2 years. And that's why in January we said we don't need to see them again based on they're doing everything that we asked them to do.
Well, I wasn't involved.
I know you weren't.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking you, could you just take the original agreement and put it up against what we're talking about now? so that we can see the changes, because a lot of what you're talking about are existing, in my mind,
From the original approval.
from the original approval. So it's not like we might be formalizing it, but we've been operating under that sense of approval for a good deal of the items that you mentioned here tonight.
Well,
So before we have to rediscuss every single item, I would love if you could,
Well, yeah, actually, I think they're in these exhibits that I submitted to you. If you look at exhibits 15, 16, and 17, these are the approvals from last year.
that we wrote up.
Yeah. And on the open air market, it was Saturdays 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Sundays 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. on the open air market. Okay? On the movie nights, it was only allowed Sunday through Thursday and is prohibited on Friday and Saturday. And that makes sense, because this facility is not going to be available for movie nights on the two busiest nights of the week, which would be Friday and Saturday. And then on the yoga,
We gave them the world.
yeah, I don't see any limitation on the yoga. I mean, I don't want to stand out there in the street and tell some woman who's there to do, or a man that's there to do yoga, that they can't do it. Because when I was young, I wasn't in a position to tell people that did yoga that they can't do something they want to do. Now, I can hardly stand up.
Now, Harold, just a quick question.
Yes.
Now, I mean, these dates aren't the same as the contingents we put in place? Originally, the original?
These are the original ones, which in January of this year, we simply said they've fulfilled, and we're going to allow them to have another year without asking for any kind of changes.
Now, those documents that I made reference to did not address outdoor music, which I've just answered Jim's question as to what hours were proposed.
But believe me, the discussions about outdoor music were long, long discussions on everybody's part, including, police and everybody else. What I don't want to do is to lose all of that consensus that we worked on so hard. I want,
Well,
if
the
possible,
police didn't have any comments this time around.
because they had comments the last time.
Well, I don't know about that, but,
What nights were 10 p.m., Barry? Friday, Saturday?
yeah. I'll go over it again.
All right, so then it would be either Friday or Saturday, right? Because you wouldn't have it both nights. It would not be on consecutive days.
Let me run through it again. Live entertainment on non-repeating days and non-recurrent 3-hour blocks stipulated between the hours of noon and 8 p.m., Monday through Thursday, noon to 10 p.m., Friday and Saturday, and noon to 6 p.m. on Sunday. Those are the hours that people are having dinner, usually. And beyond that, the sidewalks in Stratford pretty much close up.
You're saying noon to 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturday?
Yes. Yeah. But, no, not 10 hours, because they're going to be in non-recurrent 3-hour blocks. So if you have noon to 3, then you can't do it again until 6. And then you do 6 to 9, and it's over, because 10 o'clock is the end of it. So under that scenario, you'd have 2 3-hour blocks in those 10 hours. That's the point. And then if you're going to do it on Thursday, you can't do it on Friday, because they're on non-recurrent days. The idea is to be reasonable as far as an amenity is concerned, especially an amenity that strikes fear and loathing in many a heart.
Deanne, were you finished?
Just for clarity, so if you do it on Friday, you're not doing it on Saturday?
That's correct.
Okay.
No, no, no.
No,
you
no,
can't-
no,
No, you
no.
can't have 2 days in a row. You can't have 2 days in a row. Yeah, exactly. Or Friday and Sunday. And then the hours, you can only do 3 hours at a time.
Lenny, microphone. Okay.
Well, keep it that way, Lenny, will you? Keep it that way.
Mr. Knott, one more. So, and then, so the food and beverage every day from 12 to 7?
Yes. Oh, no, 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 no.
Yeah, I'm not, what was that
No,
again?
no, that's not right. 12 to 10, I think. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. 12 to 9. 7 days a week, 12 to 9.
7 days a week, 12 to 9.
And that's the 4 trucks of different uses?
Yeah, right.
Okay. This gets to a question I have. Is it a correct assumption that one of those trucks is going to be the cocktail bar?
One of them can be a cocktail bar. It doesn't have to be a cocktail. We're suggesting. I have the floor here. You'll get your chance.
Please show respect to our speaker.
I've already got somebody lined up to take the arrows out of my back after this public hearing is closed. Yes, it's probably going to be one liquor truck, but it doesn't necessarily have to be.
How does that coordinate with when they stop serving food?
Well, the hours that I gave you for music are different than the hours that I gave you for food.
And
So
are-
food is going to stop at 9 o'clock, okay? Which means liquor coming from the food trucks will stop at 9 o'clock.
And that's from 12?
7 days a week, 12 to 9.
12 to 9,
12 to 9, yeah,
noon to 9.
noon to 9. Now, there may be another hour of music after that, but he can't have a wild frat party down there. He'd be crazy to allow something like that to happen. He's got too much money invested here. I mean, you can see what he did with the hotel. It's fantastic. And they have the best Rachel and Reuben sandwiches in the restaurant. I recommend them highly. Huh? Well, I'm more of a restaurant guy.
Deborah,
You have to understand, it has nothing to do with the quality of the food. There's more here than, meets the eye. And, obviously, you're not being forward with what the plans are, like, maybe you know what's going to go there or not?
What I know is what I've told you tonight. I don't know anything more than that. To be honest with you, Ms. Lamberti, can I ask you what you mean by that statement that you just made? I don't understand what you're suggesting.
Well, you seem to know that there's going to be maybe one liquor,
No, what I'm telling you
it's
is-
like,
Go ahead.
you're not being clear.
Okay, I apologize for not being clear, but what the regulation says, that it's a food truck park where no more than 4 trucks can appear, one or more of which may be, or I don't even remember if it's one or more or just one. Or two of which may be liquor trucks. Now, the only reason why I thought about the liquor trucks is because there's a lady down on Birdseye Street who actually has a mobile liquor truck. I didn't even know they existed, but they do, apparently. So in thinking about that, we thought we should expand the regulation to allow something like that to happen if there's demand for it. But I'm not suggesting that there is or what we're planning on doing. I just created a regulation that was broad enough to cover all contingencies that I could think of. I'm not trying to hide anything from you.
So basically what it says is, and what I read right here says no more than 2.
That's
So
correct.
you can have 1 or 2.
That's right. Right. And I doubt there would be more than one, to be honest with you. Why would there be?
question. Stratford has had trouble with food trucks getting approvals. I only know this from speaking to food truck operators, that Stratford's not their favorite place to be in. It's hard getting the health department approvals. It's hard to getting siting approvals. If what we're doing here is setting up a food truck camp of 4 possible vehicles, how does that affect the rest of Stratford's zoning when it comes to food trucks?
Well, forget about this location. Every food truck that operates in the town of Stratford has got to be inspected by the fire department and the health department, okay, before they can operate.
That I understand.
Now, I've been around for a long time, and I've seen different communities, the way their fire marshals and health departments have operated. And Stratford, by far, and I mean really by far, has the strictest health department and the strictest fire department of any other community in this area. If you're not going, these food trucks aren't going anywhere in this town without being inspected by those 2 agencies. The fire marshal made a comment about it in his administrative comments. So.
And have you spoken to the health department about multiple?
She made the same comment, you know, that they're prepared. And the way it works is, we hire a food truck. They don't go on our site until we've got permits signed by the health department and the fire department. It's a condition precedent to them coming onto our property. Every food truck has got to be inspected.
And who does the liability if the alcohol coming off a food truck, is it with the
My guy.
facility or is it with
It's with the facility. My client's got dram shop coverage.
So they have the responsibility also to monitor it and
Legal,
police it?
legal response. No one else does. Just my guy's got dram shop liability.
Okay.
And it's got insurance to cover it.
Do 4 food trucks roll in there on June 1st and stay there for the whole summer?
That's a good question. Let me give you the answer. And a food truck that rolls in there has got to be inspected by fire and health, okay? That inspection is going to be good until fire and health comes back to inspect those same trucks again, a month later or whatever. If we are rotating food trucks, where John Doe food truck comes in 1 week and XYZ food truck comes in the following week, so that no food truck stays for a significant period of time, each time one of those new food trucks comes onto site, they got to go to the fire department and the health department to get inspected before they can come on our site. So will there be food trucks there for more than 1 or 2 or 3 weeks? I don't know. But if there are, they will all be subject to the same inspection regimen. Yes.
I noticed in the plans that there are containers on the site. Will they,
Yeah,
will
they're
they-
going. Those
they'll be
containers are
removed?
going, yeah. These food trucks are going to be in lieu of those containers. Those containers that are there now, you're talking
Yeah.
about? No, they're going. See, here, let me tell you the problem with the containers. The containers are hooked up to sewers and utilities. And and therefore they're permanent, all right? So because they're permanent and can't be moved, they have to qualify with the FEMA requirements, which means they're supposed to be at elevation 11. They're not. So we can't use those. Even if we wanted to, we can't use those containers. They got to go. And that's where the food truck solution came in, because in speaking to the FEMA coordinator, because the food trucks have tires, they're registered, they can be moved at the drop of a hat, they do not have to comply with the FEMA flood elevation requirements. So the containers are going.
One more question?
Yeah.
What about water and sewers?
The food trucks will be hooked up to water and sewer and utilities, but one of the conditions, if you read my storm, whatever it's called,
I read
management
everything,
plan,
yes.
I spell out in that plan that any such food truck is going to have to be hooked up to quick release utility lines, so that if a storm event comes, they got to disconnect and be out of there within 6 hours from the initial notice of the storm event, not when it's crashing over the wall.
Yes, so I have a question. And this is just coming from me back in my younger days. I used to do promotions. I find it really hard. You said that you're going to be serving liquor in that area, correct? And you're saying that it's very preventable from people having the beer being taken outside that perimeter. And I just want to know that perimeter, from what I know of Lordship, it's just some posts and some rope. So I don't understand how you're preventing that. If you have security all around the perimeter?
Well, there'll be an on-site manager.
I just know it's very challenging to, avoid people handing beer over or just hopping over. So I just want to know what your strategy was, or what kind of protocol you had in place for that.
I mean, the same issue has come up with every outdoor restaurant that I've been involved in, including the one that's across the street at his facility now. I did that one. And the same issue came up when we were at a public hearing on the outdoor, when Marnick owned it, because people were afraid, the commissioners were going to be afraid that people were going to be walking off the outdoor deck with beer in their hands and going down to the beach and causing trouble. And it's the manager's responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen. It's as simple as that. He can't have people running around Lordship with beer bottles that they purchased at his facility. He's got too much liability for that.
And that's challenging for one person. That's what I'm saying. Is there a
No,
strategy?
he's got a whole staff of people down there. He's got a big operation down there.
That's a big perimeter. So I just want to be clear on.
Stipulate something that would make you feel comfortable, and we'll do it.
When we did the original discussions about this, there was a great separation between the hotel or the destination hotel and the lots. They broke that chain. The only thing they brought across were occasionally stuff, I believe, food things that were prepped that were then brought to one of the containers, particularly because of the fact that they could not control people. Once they crossed onto Washington Avenue, they were in the public arena. So they wanted to make sure they could have a way of preventing that. I think that that's something that needs to be worked on more. I agree with you in that sense that
Well, the only people
this is an outdoor facility.
under the original plan that I think he was talking to you about 2 years ago, I imagine that servers were going to be crossing the street with food from the restaurant. That's not happening anymore.
No, that was never that's what we had, that's what we arrived at
This is going to be
is a way of
strictly
preventing
segregated. It's going to be a segregated operation from what's going on across the street.
So then my suggestion is that we should maybe think about coming up with some barrier around the majority of the property so that you'll have entrance points that can be
So, thank you for your comments and your concerns. Doug Grabe, I own property at 910 Washington Parkway in Lordship and own lots on 24 Washington, 40 Beach, and 60 Beach, also in Lordship. To your point, Mr. Francis, I'm not sure the last time you were down there, but yes, there were ropes and poles. There's also now a 36-inch dune fence that surrounds the entire perimeter. So there's only one way in and one way out. So we have restricted people's ability to come in unless you're coming through the entrance, and you can't leave unless you're going out through that same entrance. There's also signs posted there saying, any alcohol must be consumed on site. Do not leave with your liquor, So if you buy it there, you're drinking it there, and you're going to put it in one of the receptacles there when you leave. We run 5 restaurants. We don't have a lot of alcohol issues, so we know how to control people and we know how not to overserve them. We're experts in this field. So I have full confidence in my team's ability to manage the situation, so it really depends on, hey, what's the event, what's happening, and then we will act accordingly to get the proper staff on site. Hopefully that answers your question. But I'd encourage you to go down and take a look and see the fencing for yourself, okay?
Now, are you referring to, I see actually seen one of the pictures, one of your exhibits, that it did have like some kind of wood type of fencing. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, that is
It's
sand
number
dune.
9.
Yeah, sand dune fencing, which is in,
Right.
theme for something that's located
So
by the water.
that's what's there now.
That's what's there now.
Okay. And then I'm just saying, in my experience, because I'm sure everybody here was 22, 23 years old, that's not stopping anybody.
Well, with all due respect, Mr. Francis, we don't have a problem at our place across the street with people leaving with liquor. I don't have a problem with people leaving with liquor at my other restaurants. So I have no comment on your experience. I mean, you were 22 and 23, but I don't know how old you are now. God, I hope you're not stealing liquor.
I'm just saying, I mean, like I said, I have experience in promotions. I did promotions a lot when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I mean, there is going to be instances where there's going to be people handing over, I mean, you said it's 36 inches high, handing over beers to somebody on the outside. And I mean, there is people that will be able to get over that 36-inch fence. So I was actually, with what protocols, whatever the other strategies you had in place to kind of prevent that.
Sure.
Like security on the outside or outskirts. So I just wanted to kind of get an idea what you had as a strategy.
Could you clarify what type of promotions you're talking about?
Oh, I mean, I worked for a record label, so, I mean, we did outdoor events, outdoor concerts, I did indoor clubs. I mean,
I think those are completely different than what we're proposing here. We're not going to have rock bands there, we're not going to have a music festival there. I think, you haven't seen it over the past 2 years. You had 0 complaints, so I don't know, what you did in your previous life, I've had a few different roles myself, but I don't intend on hosting some sort of wild bacchanalia party over there, some rave that's going to require, multiple security. If I did, like when we do the road races, we're required to have police there. We hire police to monitor the crowd, to make sure everyone's safe. So whatever is required, we will do. But it's really just a matter of what exactly is happening that night, or that day, or that afternoon.
Hang on. I have a question for you. I have a question for him. How many other facilities similar to this one are you running now with food trucks and liquor trucks?
None, because our other places have outdoor patios. I mean, so the difference here, Mr. Petrulli, is that it's a lot, and this is the best way we can figure out on how to utilize that in a manner which we're familiar with, which is hospitality. I'm in the business of making people happy, okay?
So are we.
Okay.
Thank you.
Deborah, anything? Anybody? Any final comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to turn to public comments. Okay, before we start, there's a lot of people here, and there's a lot of emotions. So I want one person at a time to come up to the microphone. I'm going to set my timer for 2 minutes. Please try not to repeat what someone else has said, because look at the number of people. We could be here for several more days. All right? And I don't want to see that happen. So first, I would like to hear from people who are in favor of this text, of these projects.
You could tell Doug was here. My name is Ed Kingston. I live at 8 Shoreline Drive, part of the Beach Drive Condominium Association. I live in unit number 8. It's not really a cottage, but it's a real house. And we're less than 200 feet away from the little pub. So we really are neighbors to the little pub. And I came up here last time we had, a question about live music outside. And, my message to the zoning board was, please treat them fairly, right? It seems as though there's an awful lot of emotion. And the last time we were here, everything from trash on the seawall to world hunger was a problem from Little Pub, all right? So I think it's time that, we treat him fairly. And the reason that I think we should treat him fairly, a lot of this was covered by the attorney, but it wasn't just the $4.65 million that he has spent on this property. You know, those improvements translated into more tax revenue as well. When Marnix left last year, Marnix was here, they were paying about $30,000 a year in taxes. He's now paying $90,000 a year in taxes. Thank you. All right, we could all use some additional tax revenue. In addition to the tax revenue, he's also opened another restaurant up on Barnum Avenue. All right, he's also been very, very good to the community for all the things that he's done. And I just want to go forward with one thing with the Halloween trunk or treat. My wife and I were there doing the trunk or treat, thought we had plenty of candy. Well, we didn't, right? So we scrambled back to the house to get more candy, ran out of that candy. Guess who comes down with a trailer full of candy? The Little Pub, to make sure every kid that was there was going to get some candy from everybody that was there. This is the type of stuff that Doug does. He's also a really great neighbor. If there's going to be an event going on at the Little Pub, he calls me up. Ed, there's going to be an event. If it's too loud, call so-and-so. We'll quiet it down. He's been a fantastic neighbor. He's been a good friend to me. And I'm just asking for someone who's been very good to the town of Stratford, someone who's been really good to this community, and someone who's a good neighbor and my friend, that you treat him fairly today. Thank you.
Next.
Hi, my name is Ryan Wiltsey. I live at 56 Ivy Street. I was not planning on speaking today until recently. I have worked for Little Pub since I was 16 years old. I have never had such an amazing community surrounding me. Little Pub is the reason why I'm now majoring in entertainment management in college. They support me constantly. Doug supports all of his employees, and I just need to say that I also live and grew up in Stratford. Think about the youth when you're making this decision. There's not much for us to do in this town other than school events, and I want to wake up on a Sunday morning and go to a market, or I want to bring my little siblings to an outdoor movie on a Thursday night. I don't want to have to drive 20 minutes to a different town to find something fun and family-friendly for us to do every weekend. This also allows teenagers like me a job. I mean, I'm sure Doug is going to need more people on his team, even though it's already big enough as it is. And so this opens up more job opportunities in the town and more things for the youth to do that is family-friendly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Amy Wiltsey, 56 Ivy Street. I too was late and unprepared, but I could not miss an opportunity to speak out, not only for the residents, but I do have to just say, as a Board of Education member, I am disgruntled by the amount of people that show up for businesses against one another than our education. So everybody please come to the next Board of Education meeting. Our kids need you here in town. I will say also, as a nonprofit development director, this business owner is the first one to call a local charity to see what it is we need rather than us seeking business support in town. And as we all know, it's rough for every nonprofit, and I want to thank Doug and his team for always being there for every nonprofit in our town. As a parent, I adore the opportunity for my kids to have a place to go. I love the markets that my family gets to visit. Please respect my time up here. Thank you so much. Our theaters are gone. Our bowling alleys are gone. What else is Stratford going to push out? Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Craig Stout. I live on Lighthouse Avenue, 76 Lighthouse.
Stout.
Stout, like stout. I moved here 3 years ago from Reading, Connecticut. If you want quiet, move to Reading because it's very quiet there. I support all the businesses and all the restaurants in this town. I've been to every one of them multiple times, and I think the town has really prospered and really developed with some great restaurants, you know, from Riley's to Nicky's to the Little Pub. And I think that these guys have done a tremendous amount of positive things for the community, as has been described and reviewed. I won't repeat that. But I really, when I moved from here in 2019, I was looking at houses in summer of 19, and I believe at Riley's at that time was deserted. The property in question was a desert. It was dead. And I was looking for some vitality and some life, and I've found it here in Lordship. I love it here, and I just want to support all the businesses, including what's happened with the Little Pub, the Surf Hotel. My kids have stayed there. They loved it. Everybody at the pub is fantastic. Same with Riley's, same with Nicky's. But I think these guys deserve an opportunity to prove themselves and to support all of the wonderful things that they've done in the last 3 years. And I think the fact that they're asking for an annual review of their performance it shows that they're committed, and I think they deserve the chance. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Scott Schultz, and I live at 375 Spruce in Lordship. I would tell you that I go to Little Pub, I go to Riley's, as he said, Nicky's. I love the fact that we have these restaurants, and I can assure you that the customers in there look more like me than the guy who can hop the fence, okay? Like a 36-inch fence, you got me, man, you know? So they're kind, they're generous. Have you ever stayed at the hotel? Okay, if you all remember the old hotel, this one's really nice. If you remember Marnix, this is really nice. He doesn't do anything shabby. I mean, he's here asking permission. And I think that with the market and the movies and everything, I mean, if it was me, I might say the heck with this and put up a high-rise. And the heck with your views, right? But that's not what he's doing. He wants to be part of the community. I was standing along the road clapping for all the runners the other day. It's a beautiful thing. That's all they're doing here. And I think that you guys should, you folks, sorry, should seriously consider at least giving it a shot for the summer and then reevaluate. I mean, think about how popular food trucks are. And it would bring some diversity of food to this neighborhood, which would be, if you've been down the Lordship, diversity of food is lacking. So please give them a consideration. Understand that you go in there, there's not 23-year-old kids running around doing all this stuff. It's people who live in Lordship or people nearby. We all go there. It's a very community-oriented situation. So thank you, and I hope you'll consider his proposal. And if you see me walk, you know why I can't get over the fence.
So I was not prepared to speak at this event. I came here for a different amendment, but I was very thrilled that there's an amendment happening for this particular establishment due to the fact that I moved to Stratford a year ago. However, I was looking, Carlos Pires. I live in 15 Ruby Lane. Carlos Pires, 15 Ruby Lane. So I applaud the owner of the establishment investing so much money in Stratford. I purchased a house in Stratford knowing that it was a good town, small town. However, I wanted a place closer to my friends that live in Fairfield and Shelton because I was aware sometimes there's nothing to do in Stratford. However, living in Stratford, I decided that I need to spend more time locally, understanding that the business that we have I'm taking my son out of the Shelton school to be in the Stratford school. And just recently I introduced my wife to the Stratford Beach, and walking in there, seeing the new development that's happening, seeing little pub, restaurant, the renovations that they did, amazing. I've been to, the town of Stratford has to evolve. We have to modernize ourselves. We have to change. Constantly, there's a lot of people that move to Trumbull, to Shelton, to Fairfield, to other areas where they could have a good quality of life. I understand there's essentially a lot of folks that are here, reside close to that area, but everyone that drives to that area understands that the people that live there, it's a peace and calm community, and adding a services that are going to bring more family-oriented folks is not going to damage their quality of life. And I'm quite certain that there's going to be police officers that are going to be there attending to make sure everything's secure. So again, the people that came up here to talk so good about the establishment, I hope you guys could actually think about the small businesses that really want to help out Stratford, and not all these big corporations coming in and falsely claiming that they're going to add jobs, and they're just adding more profits to themselves, and nothing's really changing to the town. So thank you.
Anyone else who would like to speak in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask anybody here who is in favor of this proposal, please raise your hands.
Larry, you're out of line.
In fairness to that, Mr. Chairman, ask for people to raise their hands that are not in favor.
We are now going to proceed with those people who are opposed to the project. One at a time. Please give your name and address.
My name is Rich Davis. I live at 14 Beach Drive. I own Riley's. I looked at buying that property back in 2019 and 2020. I did my due diligence. I realized it was very restricted, and I knew that the master plan, or the, whatever it's called, the plan of conversation, was to make it into a waterfront. I realized that the property is very restricted. Doug's done a great job. The hotel's great, the little pub's great, brings a lot of people in. It's really good for my business. What's happened in that lot has hurt my business. Last year, they started with their pop-up markets, and contrary to what the attorney said, they had to stop, because on a Thursday night, on June 15th, it got out of control. There were too many people, I lost a lot of reservations, and we found out it wasn't permitted, it wasn't licensed, and so it had to stop. That's why we have the new zoning. My issue is with parking. When I talk to zoning, whatever you do on that lot has to be self-contained. Roughly, I'm doing some estimates here, but if you have 144 seats, because you have 24 picnic tables, 6 people at the picnic table, it's 144 seats, it's roughly 3,000 square feet. According to the zoning laws in Stratford, you would need 50 spots, 50 parking spots. My understanding, there's 29 parking spots. Parking is an issue. If he brings in entertainment, there's no control. Doug's passion is written in an article. He loves music. Recently, the Smithereens played at Total Arena, and he had an event the night before and had 300 people show up at his Fairfield restaurant. My fear is there's going to be an event at the AMP, and he's going to have something on that lot prior, and we might have 300 to 400 people with not enough parking. That's my biggest fear, because that would destroy my business for that night. He sent out a petition, and on that petition, it doesn't mention entertainment. Our letter to my landlord to be here tonight, it doesn't mention entertainment. There's something wrong.
Good evening. My name is Gary Nelson. I live at 76 West Hillside Avenue. First of all, let me say how frustrating it is to be back here again. The agreement that Platypus Corporation made with the Planning and Zoning Committee for the weekend craft shows, movie nights, and yoga on the beach was universally applauded by all in the community, myself included. It demonstrated a real partnership between Little Pub and the community. The proposal we are here to protest against today is a violation of that previous agreement, and more importantly, a breach of trust. As I have stated in previous meetings, I am not anti-Little Pub. The Little Pub has been a fine addition to the community, both as a restaurant as well as being a supporter of many charitable events. What I am opposed to is the use of a vacant lot for entertainment and, most importantly, the sale of alcohol. Allow me to repeat that comment. What I am opposed to is the use of a vacant lot for entertainment and, most importantly, the sale of alcohol. I am a registered nurse who has spent the vast majority of my 46-year career as a nurse working in the emergency department. I have witnessed countless tragedies. During my time as the ED nurse manager, it was within my purview to accompany the ED physicians to deliver devastating news and life-changing news to families after these tragedies occurred. The one common equation in many of these tragedies was drugs and alcohols equaling tragedy. This is the equation that is being proposed today. 3 to 4 hours of entertainment in a vacant lot with alcohol being served and marijuana, which is now legal, being smoked. It is estimated that 3 drinks will result in a blood alcohol level above 0.8, the legal limit. Add some marijuana, and we have a lethal mix. There have been 22 wrong-way accidents in Connecticut alone in the last 2 years, most involving impaired drivers. How long will it take for an impaired individual to drive the wrong way on Seawall Drive, or drive erratically, or drive at a high rate of speed, or perhaps all 3, hitting a child, a grandchild, a senior citizen, a mom or dad? If this proposal passes, the question will not be if, but when will that tragedy occur? Let me repeat that, my final comment. If this proposal passes, the question will not be if, but when will this tragedy occur? Thank you for hearing me.
My name is Eleanor McAuliffe. I live at 196 Jefferson Street. My degrees are in electrical engineering, advanced degrees in computer science architecture, advanced search. I consult with the federal government and the state government. I helped Hartford Healthcare turn around its whole system in Hartford, and now they are expanding very nicely down here. I've also hold several patents, and I was the director of reliability engineering for Pitney Bowes. Like my predecessor, it's too bad we have to show up again. I did the capacity planning for this 2 to 3 years ago. I worked with EMS, the fire department. I worked with the town hall, the health department, to look at the capacity constraints around the parking. And guess what? We've only increased the constraint around the capacity, because of those beautiful, absolutely beautiful townhouses. And nobody is disputing Mr. Grab's community service. Nice hotel, nice restaurant. You can have a lobster roll on the deck and look out at the Little Pub currently. My concerns are not that. I just want to say I applaud you guys for holding the ground a couple years ago on the zoning board and the zoning constraints around this vacant lot. I've talked to the state about the concern about the liquor licenses. They do not conform or comply right now. This is what the proposal Mr. Knott is showing. This in pink, all this in pink, to change. You guys know that. I will say this, as everyone knows, the Waterfront Commission did not approve of this. They're there for a reason under Chapter 444 of the State Compliance and Regulation for the Waterfront Commission to give you guys guidance. They said no, again. Again, they said no. He's requesting to augment these food trucks for a liquor license with an uncontrollable entertainment license. Mr. Grob, and this comes from my computer science degree, has an establishment at Black Rock. When he has a concert, when he has somebody coming to say folk music, there is something that kicks off in the internet called an algorithm that basically allows, I'm sorry?
Your time. You're at over 3 minutes.
I'm sorry. This is very important because there are 5 venues. There's 5 venues that get kicked in the internet to do unlimited invitations.
Could you print?
Unlimited invitations to people.
Excuse me, there's
who
a
like
whole
that
room
concert
full of
venue.
people who want to speak.
It goes to the lack of control. Okay? It's a fact.
Could you please send a copy of that to Jay?
I do. I have pictures, Jay. No problem at all.
Could you send him a text of that? That would be interesting, and we will.
Yeah, it's right on the search engine. There's a number of them. It's basically Star 99, Songkick, all events, Yelp, set list, they all go out, okay? Nobody's disputing the restaurants. They're excellent restaurants. Nobody's disputing you, Mr. Grubb. Thank you very much. You've got an excellent citizen. This is a vacant lot at a different address that's not conform, period. You can try to put a lipstick on the pig, but it's still a pig, okay? You purchased it for $444,000.
Excuse me.
Different time and
I
day.
need to ask you to stop.
Okay.
Okay, because you're taking 2 minutes from someone else now.
Really.
Thank you very
All
much.
right, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your service. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Robert Marks. I live at 120 Washington Parkway, just up the street from the Stratford seawall. I'm here to speak against the application. Again, like everybody else, I have take no exception to having commercial property in Lordship, even though it's a single-family neighborhood. We welcome Little Pub and the hotel. My 2 issues are with parking and with noise. I live just up the hill again from the seawall, and they have had music events for the last couple of years. Unlike has been represented by the applicant's attorney, the music carries. Whether the band faces the sound or not, the sound carries significantly beyond the property line. It carries a couple of blocks away. And similarly with parking. When there's an event, when there's a live act, people are parked all the way up Washington Parkway. They're parked on the cross streets, Ocean Avenue. There just simply isn't enough parking for live music events. So those are my 2 concerns, and I don't think they've been addressed in this application properly. I don't see how they're looking to increase the number of music acts, extend the music later into the evening. I believe last summer it stopped at 8 o'clock. Now they're saying they're going to run till 10 o'clock. Some of us have families and little kids, and we can hear the music. It's enough to hear it at 8 o'clock. We don't need to hear it at 10 o'clock at night. So I'm hoping that you will take comments like this under advisement and manage what is considered for that property. This is not about outdoor dining on those lots, residentially zoned lots. This is about creating a festival atmosphere. The things that are mentioned are open-air market, outdoor movie night, outdoor music, all of these things. It's live entertainment, it's festival atmosphere, and it's not what Lordship is about. Restaurants fine, hotels fine, but this is different. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm David Driscoll. I live at 59 Jefferson Street in the Seawall neighborhood. Subject property we're talking about is 6/10 of an acre. It resides right in the midst of an RS4 residential district. Since Platypus Partners purchased the property in 2020, there's been a number of attempts to apply for different activities. In 2020, the Planning Commission provided an unfavorable recommendation on the request for waterfront property, a waterfront zone, WF zone. And then in July of 2021, and again in May of 2023, the Waterfront Harbor Management Commission provided an unfavorable recommendation. Consistent in all those unfavorable recommendations were noted about potential noise and other nuisances, impacts, adequacy of available parking spaces, concerns for traffic congestion, diminishing availability of parking spaces for general public use of the seawall. So there's been a consistent theme every time these things have been reviewed and rejected. The Zoning Commission rejected the prior application in August of 21 after public hearings in June and July. So here we are. We have another petition to operate a food truck park. Application is very similar to the one that was rejected in 2021, except the utilization of this property is a much denser utilization being proposed now than was proposed in 2021 at a time when the demands on the infrastructure, the streets, the sidewalk, the parking, has only increased with the success of the Little Pub and its hotel, Riley's, and the nice weather. We have 9 condominium townhouses directly across the street from the subject property that are nearing completion, again, putting more demand on the infrastructure. I have a collection of petitions signed by 278 residents of Stratford. Of those 278, 241 are from Lordship. Most important, 165 of the signatures on these petitions represent the residents of the streets directly surrounding this property. Okay, these are the people that are going to be most impacted. You're welcome. Most impacted by that activity if it gets approved. Why do you suppose the neighbors are so? Why do you suppose the neighbors are so opposed? I can tell you why. Platypus Partners have provided a preview of what is going to happen in the future. In the summer of 2020 and during spring of 2021, Little Pub brought popular bands and events to this corner, attracting large crowds, filling the town beach, seawall with large, okay, 1 minute, I'll be done. With large groups of people, streets were clogged, and we didn't have parking. I'm going to submit another exhibit, which is a photograph down on that corner seawall. Yeah, I got one more exhibit I need to pass off. And I listened to the Attorney Knott for an hour and a half. That's his job. As a citizen, I deserve the right to speak. I'm going to provide into the evidence in June of 2021. These were off the Little Pub website prior to even the zoning board approving any application. Almost daily events: Tangled Vine, Blank Vodka Joints, Little Pub, Caribbean Vibes, Two Roads Takeover, Nemco Cornhole Tournament, Dalmore Whiskey, and Davidoff. This is what is being proposed behind the scenes for this property. This is not what we need in Lordship. We're a family community. People deserve better.
First of all, thank you very much. My name is Joe Satin, live at 27 First Avenue, have a piece of property that's contiguous to the lot. I'll try and make this fast. This represents the last, about a week and a half ago, on a Saturday, no entertainment. Both restaurants, Riley's and Little Pub, were filled. You'll be able to see that. There were 4 parking spaces available on the 2 Little Pub lots. There were no parking spaces available on Riley's lot. There was 1 parking space available on the seawall, and the entire length of the demarked parking spaces on Washington were filled. That's nothing going on a evening in the spring. Secondly, I'd like to talk about noise. Mr. Grabe is a sound engineer. I'm an electrical engineer. We're both fully cognizant of decibels and the amplification of music. The attorney for Mr. Grabe indicated that they would follow the rules of Stratford. This past weekend, there was a 2-piece band at Little Pub. They were playing at 76 decibels. 76 decibels is 100 times louder than what is allowed by the city, the town of Stratford. In the past, there have been events on the lot where, and I presented this to the police who were there and the Waterfront Commission who happened to be there, the music was 108 decibels, which is 10,000 times higher than what's allowed by the city. These are big numbers. These are controllable numbers, okay? But this is not correct. Third item, which was alluded to, it's a return on investment. On this lot, Mr. Grabe has invested well over $1 million. He's done a nice job in cleaning up what was not very nice. The people who have signed the petitions against have an investment not of $1 million, but conservatively of over $100 million. Whether they believe it or understand it, they are business people as well. They want not only to protect their financial investment, but they do want to protect the goodness that Lordship holds for all of us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Susan Denzel, and I live at 263 Jefferson Street. I also own the building that houses the 2 restaurants that are in Lordship, and that's at 350 Stratford Road, which would be Lordship Corner Market and Del Mare Pizza. And when they came in, they're brand new restaurants. They've only been in existence maybe a year and a half. When they came in, the town of Stratford came down, and we, my husband and myself, were required to put in a grease trap at the tune of $25,000. We put in our grease trap for these restaurants. We were also required to put it within a locked gate, along with the garbage that was collected. We have a dumpster. That also had to be contained in a locked gate. And we had a dump truck to come once every day to pick up, to keep our place and our area clean. And my question is, when food trucks come in, where is the grease trap? Now, I know the Little Pub must have also a grease trap for their restaurant and their hotel. And my question is, this is across the street from there, and what are they going to do with the oil? Are they going to track it across the street and dump it in that? Is that able to be contained? Or have they, I've heard nothing about the requirements for a grease trap put in on that property to house for the, the trucks that are coming in. Also, I have a question about the concern is, if a truck isn't doing well there, does that mean they're going to move out and bring another truck? And if that truck comes in, is that also cleared by the health department? I mean, has anybody dealt with the issues about what I deal with daily? I'd like to know if they're going to be dealt with the same way that I have to be dealt with. Where is their garbage going to go? Who's going to collect it? Is it going to be the town? Is it going to be on the town? Because mine isn't. I have to pay for my own garbage to be dumped in the area, to be cleaned and to be kept clean. I do that myself. Has nothing to do with the town. I want to know if they plan on doing the same thing, or is this also going to be a tax effort on the town of Stratford? So I'd just like to bring those things up, and I would sometime like an answer from Little Pub as to the grease trap that is going to either be installed, or where's the grease going to go? They're going to dump it in the ocean? Are they going to wheel it across the street and dump it in theirs? And how is it able to contain that? So those are questions I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any final person who would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Sarah Carilla. I live on First Avenue. My children are the 5th generation residents of Lordship, and I'd like to see them grow up in a safe, happy, healthy place. I am very disappointed and disgusted that there's even talk of using the elementary school right next to my house that my 3 children go to, and the Lordship Community Church that we're also a part of, for his overflow drunken parking to be shuttled to. I think that is despicable, absolutely despicable. And if there is someone to speak to at the Board of Education about that, this is the first I've heard about someone giving him a green light for over the summertime or any time to be wheeling through Lordship drunken patrons to places that hold a preschool at the church and as young as 5-year-olds at a school, elementary school. There's a brand new basketball court put in. There's going to be heavy traffic there all summer. There is no place to be taking adults that can't even find a spot where they want to go enjoy their afternoon or their afternoon and evening or their morning, afternoon, and evening. Kayaks traveled across 2 public roads to launch off a public beach. The Waterfront Commission gave an unfavorable, for a reason, just like the last person said. It's a death trap. Alcohol, no security, no more policing, no more parking. Take your own kayak out, no lifeguard. What's going to happen? The town's going to get sued. Somebody from his establishment could, would, may. Same thing I said 2 years ago. Drive right through somebody's living room. I hope to God it's not mine or any of yours. But the reality is that Lordship is a small community. It's beautiful. We are not a carnival. We are not a boardwalk. We are not his destination hotel. That is his destination hotel. We have invested our lives in a place that does not include a 24-hour festival. You go to a festival and then you go home. You don't have it in your backyard. And you don't have the risks and the negligence that carry with that. And it's very scary. And for everybody behind me that wants to be flippant about it and say, well, you haven't given us permission, so we'll just see when we get there. And everybody that just thinks he's a great guy. You can buy people all you want with donations and, rallies and, all that good stuff the public loves. But you're robbing the residents of what they invested their lives in.
Time.
Down there. Thank you.
I'm going to assume no one else wants to speak right now, and
You're going to offer rebuttal.
I am going to offer rebuttal to Mr. Knott if we can find him.
And I
There
just
you
want
are.
to advise the commission, just before Mr. Knott decides to address the commission again, we are still waiting, because there's a text amendment that's been proposed, we're still waiting a recommendation from the Planning Commission, and this commission cannot vote until we receive that after the next meeting of the Planning Commission next month. So just for everyone else that's in the audience, there will be no vote on this application this evening, at least until we hear from the Planning Commission next month. So
When are they meeting, you know?
I don't know the exact date. Let me see. It's usually the third Tuesday.
So this will be on our June meeting.
June 20th is their next meeting, and our next meeting is I don't have it marked down. I believe it's the 28th.
All right, so we'll act on it on the 28th. Okay. Thank you.
So, Mr. Knott, and just one second, Commissioner Francis. So, Mr. Knott, since this is concluding the public comment portion, Mr. Knott may want to reserve his comments to next month since we're leaving this open, or address it now.
Well, first of all,
No. Hey, enough, stop. That's disrespectful to someone doing his job.
I have no, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no rebuttal as to the comments that were just made,
But
that I would like to articulate.
would you
Although
like to
in-
reserve that for next time?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll keep the public portion.
So I'm going to make a motion to keep the public hearing open on these three issues
Second.
until our next meeting. Any discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
We should let the public know, though, that the public portion is still.
Well, they now,
Well, do they understand what that means? Not that we want you to come back and repeat yourselves, but the public portion would still be open. Okay?
and that's really so we can get clarification on some of these points.
The only question I had was, is it just the planning or planning and wetlands?
It's just Planning Commission that we're waiting for.
Okay.
Yeah.
But did waterfront play in? So I didn't see that, although it could be here. Okay. All right. Thank you. Please take your conversations outside. We still have a half a meeting to go. I'm happy to see you here, but please take them in the hall. That includes you. Yeah, we're gonna take a 2-minute recess so we can get everybody quiet and attentive. What? Oh, 8:15. The what?
Hey, that was the only.
You're right. Well, that's all going to end up getting washed out. It's nuts. I don't care what they do as long as it's not thunder, because it's all going to wash out in a big storm.
All right.
Get this to Jane.
Okay. So you don't need this. So can I, he's going to have to come back and do another hearing, right? Just like the last one. Okay. I'm just trying. Okay. Okay. Busy this week. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on. Our next, I don't know what our next is. I think we're up to Jim. We are now going to move to text amendment 7, and then 8 and 9 will also be included in the same package.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Petition of 600 Silver Lane LLC seeking to create a new subsection 33 titled Church Repurposing Development to allow for residential development at former church sites. Petition of 600 Silver Lane LLC seeking to change a change of zone from RS3 to a church repurposing district. Petition of 600 Silver Lane LLC seeking a site plan review to convert a former church and rectory to 5 residential apartments and construct 10 detached single-family homes in the CRD zone. An erosion and sediment controls review has also been submitted with this application.
I wish to announce that should any items on this agenda take more time than anticipated, this public hearing may conclude at 11 o'clock and be continued to another date, which will be established at any time. Any items not heard by 11 o'clock by 10 o'clock, tonight will be heard at the continued public hearing. Is the petitioner or representative present? Could you give your name and address?
Oh, sure. My name is Attorney Stephen Bellis. I live in Shelton, and I practice in New Haven at the Pellegrino Law Firm. I know I've been before you many times, and good to see you all. The good news is that I'm not quite as... Oh, you can't hear. I'm sorry. I'll try to speak into the mic. I apologize, Chairman.
Excuse me. Guys, you have to understand what we're doing. He's giving a presentation to the Zoning Commission on what he's proposing. Okay?
I'll try to speak up.
All right.
I apologize. I'm sorry. I'll try to speak into the microphone.
It's by law. That's what a public meeting is, doors open.
Okay, I'll start again. For the record, I'm attorney Stephen Bellis. I'm a Shelton resident, and I practice law in New Haven at the Pellegrino Law Firm. I represent the applicant, 600 Silver Lane, LLC. And before I get started, I just have the certificates of mailing receipts, the notice, and a copy of the photograph of the sign we posted. So, you're welcome. So as you may recall, over the years, there's been a lot of cases that were in Stratford that were land use cases that were appealed. And maybe about a year ago, it's been about a year, I think in May, the town of Stratford and I entered into a settlement negotiation, and we settled 10 to 12 of those cases. And as part of that settlement, we entered into a settlement agreement with the town of Stratford that was signed by the mayor and signed by my clients. And this is the last piece of the puzzle as far as that settlement agreement is concerned. And this piece of property is located at 600 Silver Lane. And the reason that we're here is to make a proposal, for, as the chairman said, to do a text amendment and then to show you what I call a site plan. And I have Ian who's an engineer who will walk you through that. But it's not all that complicated or all that different from what's there now. What we're talking about here is taking a church that is vacant and putting in 3 units. I know the text amendment had said 4, but after negotiations, we reduced it down to 3. And then there will be a small road, about 200 feet or so, with a cul-de-sac and individual detached single-family homes, 10 of those. And so what we're doing is simply keeping the church, keeping the rectory, adding a small road, which is a cul-de-sac, that'll have 10 single-family homes. The property is not subdivided, right? So that's why it's a condominium. It'll be a homeowners association. More likely than not, the individual owners will own the house, but there will be a homeowners association that takes care of plowing the road, cutting the grass, and that sort of thing. So the first thing that I should talk to you about is what we call the text amendment. So in this, I had submitted a text amendment for using this church property, and after some talk with the town council, they wanted to limit where these are done to within 500 feet of the Stratford-Bridgeport border. So that's not in the document you had. Those negotiations came after. Also limiting it to only 7 housing units per acre. I don't know if you have that one or not. So at the end of the day, I just want everyone to be clear. That's why we're doing the text amendment and the site plan. I want you to know what's going to be on this particular piece of property, okay? So there are, so that no one's confused, there are 10 what I call single-family homes. There are 3 units that are going to be put inside the existing but vacant church. And then there's a separate lot that has the rectory, and that's just going to stay as is. And that white piece is a separate deeded piece. That's where the rectory is. That rectory is just staying the way it is. So what we're getting is a church is going to stay the same, but on the inside we'll have 3 units. And then the only thing that will be different will be this small cul-de-sac with these houses around it. And so the purpose of the text amendment is to allow this kind of development as part of our settlement negotiations. So what happens is, in case you don't recall, is that even though we have a settlement agreement with the town of Stratford, we do go before the the different various commissions. So in this particular case, for this road, I will be going to the Wetlands Commission, which I've already filed an application. I went last night to the Planning Commission, and they'll make a referral to your commission. And then I come to your commission. So I will be going to 3 commissions for this one particular project. As I said, since it just happened, planning came before your meeting. They wanted to make sure that these developments weren't like all over town at every single church, so that's why there's a limitation that this text amendment is only for properties that are within 500 feet of the Bridgeport border. So, having said that, the text amendment is very straightforward. It basically says that no dwelling unit should have more than 3 bedrooms. They're all serviced by sewer and public water, right? They'll be underground. It'll have a dead end. It's owned and maintained, as I said, by a homeowners association. And there'll be sufficient, they wanted sufficient plantings behind the homes to border and protect any neighbors. We'll go over that and listen to your input on that. And otherwise, this, when it's all completed, will look no different than a new cul-de-sac with 10 houses on it on property that's adjacent to the church that you're all familiar with. So the reason that we are here tonight is to start the process, okay? We're not going to be able to vote on this tonight. I do want to tell everyone, and they if they don't go to the wetlands hearing, that's okay. There's no wetlands per se, okay, on this property. There's wetlands in the area, and we call that the upland review area. So we go to wetlands, even though we're not disturbing the wetlands, we're not asking them for any permits, we're not disturbing the wetlands, but we have an obligation to tell them what we're doing, because I think we're within 250 feet of the wetlands. And, yes, sir?
Have you included conservation areas in this? I know at some point earlier on, there was a request from our greenskeeper person that there be more native planting and all of that.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So this reflects everything that we've been discussing over the last couple of months.
I believe it does, and if it doesn't, we'll include it. But there is a landscaping plan, yeah. So what we do is, just so you get the order, there's a text amendment that I drafted that's before you, and I've given Jay the most recent version that limits it to 7 housing units per acre, so that's why you have 14 total units, and also limits where these can be developed no closer than 500 feet from the border. So that's the text amendment. We've also given you, I think Ian went around and gave you what I call a site plan. That's what that is. And I want to introduce to you what we're doing there and have the engineer go over it a little bit. And then I will be coming back to you hopefully next month or the next month after that, after Wetlands has acted, after the Planning Commission has given their recommendation, and then I'll conclude, we'll see what they have to say, and I'll address it. So this is what I call an introductory meeting tonight. And obviously, any of your input, let me know now, and we'll be glad to address it. So let me start with having the engineer just kind of go over it. I think it's not that complicated, but it doesn't hurt to have him go over it.
Hello, for the record, my name is Ian Eller. I live in Newtown, Connecticut, but I work for Jason Edwards Associates. I'm here representing them. Just want to talk a little bit about the engineering of the project. As stated, it is served by public utilities. The primary engineering work that we did, in addition to the layout, obviously, is designing the stormwater detention, which conforms to Stratford's requirements. We have reduced runoff for the entire project based upon our detention. But we can go through these pages one at a time if you want. All right, so page 2.1 is the site development plan. This is the important one. As you can see, there are two main detention areas down in the bottom right or bottom left, and then along the easterly side of the property. The one in the bottom left is there to catch just the road, whereas the larger one that runs along the easterly side of the property is sized to get all the roofs, driveways, most of the road, all of that. You can see, if you look at the individual buildings, you'll see that the roof drains lead into yard drains, which connect and eventually lead into proposed stormwater system number 2. I believe you guys already have a drainage report that was produced by our office. It was not modified, so you didn't get a new one tonight, so you should have that on file. And as described there, we're sized for a 25-year storm, and we will retain a 100-year storm, the first inch off a 100-year storm. So we are good to go as far as the regulations are concerned. On page 2.2, you can see the plan and profile for the road or driveway, as we're calling it. Pretty standard stuff, but gives you the details on those numbers if you're interested. And then the other one that is probably, of course, erosion and control is 2.3. This conforms to the requirements by the town and the state. You can see that we've got sediment traps and we've got diversion swales and silt fence and all the usual requirements. And of course, that will be monitored by us during construction when that eventually comes about. And finally, you guys had asked about the planting plan, which I think is page 6.0. Haha. So 6.0 is, which I think is actually before the 5s in your guys' sets, the way we put it together, shows plantings along the borders in order to allow buffers. You can see that our limited disturbance, say again, 6.0. You can see that we have plantings, we have street trees, we have buffer. Our limited disturbance, because of the construction, does hug the property line kind of closely all around. That's why we have the buffer plantings to put back in once we're done. 6.0. You don't have a... Well, it's... That was a test. I passed. But you had asked about conservation. We do not at this time, just for clarity, have an actual conservation area, like a conservation line. We only have a limited disturbance and then plantings at the buffers. Right. Correct.
You're still working, I assume, on MS4. You're going to come back with all of that for us.
Correct. Whatever comes about these requests. But this is the state of the plans as of now, and this is the state of the project from an engineering perspective.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
I drove into the church, off of Silver Lane, and I drove, and it's like I went to behind the church, and there was a neighbor, like, on her deck with her dog, sunning herself, and I said, ooh, this is like, you know, so there are neighbors very, very close to this property. I mean, in fact, I kind of like, you know, even though I have a Stratford sticker on my car and everything, I felt kind of uncomfortable, so I kind of like, you know, just, and I saw the piles of dirt and rocks in the back and everything that's there, so, you know, I don't know, I just can't envision where all this is going to go.
I mean, other than from the perspective that we do plan on planting buffers, that's more of a you question than a me question.
So the trend, not only in this town, but in other towns that I've been doing this for 40 years, the trends have changed. When I first started, people were building homes on 1 acre, and we were very used to that, and that's what we did. And some were in 2 acres, right? On some towns, you had 2-acre lands. But the trend lately, and I don't know if it's been 10 years, I don't know exactly, has been that people don't want the 1-acre lots. They want a smaller home. They want to stay in Stratford. They want to have a nice new home with all the amenities. They want to have some yard, but they don't want to have the big 1 acre. I was just up in Beacon Falls, and they have 250 of these type homes, just like this. Small cul-de-sacs, smaller homes.
Folks, could you please quiet down? Excuse me,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I know.
You'll have a chance to make comments. It's a little distracting, please. Thank you.
It may not be what we're accustomed to, but it's certainly something that's been a trend, not only in this town, but in other towns as well. And what I do want to say that these are single-family homes that from the outside look like a colonial. There's a garage under. They're just smaller. They're 2,000 square feet, 900 square feet on the first floor, 900 on the second floor, and you have your underground garage. They're just not big 3,000 square foot homes on an acre. They're not. So they're smaller homes with 3 bedrooms. And I do want to tell you, I did omit, and I'm glad you brought it up. I am also you have a board called the Architectural Review Board, and we are going before them as well. So that's why I think we're here as an introductory meeting, because they may have some suggestions, right? And we'll incorporate those. But if you're saying to me, well, we want 1 acre or a house on an acre, that's not what this is. But that's not to say that these aren't nice or that they're not something that people want or attractive, and they're also a way for people to still stay in a home and stay in the town, either that they're downsizing to or for a younger person to move into. I don't know how to answer your question specifically. It's hard for people to sometimes visualize. I get this all the time, so it doesn't offend me. I don't know how it's going to turn out at the end. And then after we build a project or the developer builds the project, 5 years later, it blends into the neighborhood and you never even know that you acted upon it. So from that standpoint, the homes are, as I said, they look like standard colonials with the underground garage, 3 bedrooms, and we will go to the Architectural Review Board, get some of their comments. These are not anything that's going to look much different from what you're used to in town. They're just smaller homes. That's bottom line. They're not. So, I know residents get nervous. I appreciate it. They're homeowners. They lived in town. They've lived in this neighborhood a long time. I understand that. I really do. What we're here to do is to try to protect their properties and make sure that we do a good job. This is a straightforward layout. It's not that complicated. And luckily, it has sewer, and it has water, and it has gas. I don't know if we told you that. And so it's a nice development, and it's laid out in such a way that is not offensive. It's, not much different than a lot of the little cul-de-sacs you see in this town, Shelton, where I live, Newtown, where Ian's from. It's just that's the trend. As far as the church itself, you're not going to really notice anything. There's just going to be some remodeling done on the inside, so that's something I don't think you're going to really see.
Do you have that, are you going to forward plans for the interior, exterior of the church, what you're doing on that?
That'll go to the Architectural Review Board.
Interior?
Yeah. It's just interior work.
So we'll get floor plans, and you'll also be sending the church to the Architectural Review Board for how to deal with it?
Yeah, the rectory I don't think we're touching, so we're not doing that.
But it is part of the property?
Yeah, the same owner owns, yes. It was, I did the title search years ago, it was deeded, I don't know, they deeded it differently, yeah. They deeded off, I don't know why. But the same owner, yeah, same owner. And it's included in the homeowners association, and it's part of the 14 units. So there's no games being played. That's just the way it is. And as I said before, this was something that we contemplated with the town of Stratford. We negotiated it. My client wanted more units, and the town wanted to limit the number of units, and we negotiated it to a level. That's why even the version you had 8 per acre. Now we're down to 7 per acre. So that is something that we felt with the work of the engineer and the review of the town that works. We want something that works, and this works. And they agreed. The town of Stratford was okay with it, and my client's okay with it. So that's why we call it a settlement. Obviously, you have input, and we'll listen to your input. But as I say, this is being presented as part of a settlement agreement. I'm just trying to be straightforward and go to all the commissions like it was a new application. So I will not, I'm just introducing it tonight. I will come back. If you have anything you want to tell me now, I'm not offended.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
I noticed that your buildings still are encroaching upon the wetland setback. Have you gone to the Wetlands Committee yet on this?
Yeah, we filed our application, and their hearing is, I don't know the date, Jay. It's in June. The answer is that we have, yeah, maybe
So we
June.
really are going to have to wait.
Oh, I
that in
agree.
terms of-
I think I said that in the beginning, didn't I? I said, I'm going to go to wetlands. Yeah, I'm going to go.
But that really will delay us in
Yeah.
terms of what we
Yeah.
can say yes to.
Yeah, the good news is that, no, there's no impact on the wetlands. What you see on there is the upland review
Yes.
area. Yeah.
But that's under their jurisdiction.
It is under their jurisdiction. That's why we're going there. So I don't know that I can't promise you I'll see you back in June, because I do want to go to these other hearings and then come back to you and say, Wetlands asked us to do this. The Planning Commission asked us to do that. The Architectural Review Board asked us to do this.
That's our life.
Oh, you guys are used to that?
We're used to that. We need that.
They'll send you the letters.
We do that
Okay.
on every
And then I'll come back and we'll discuss it, okay? So that's why I said tonight I'm not going to be very long. But I did want to give you an overview. Any other questions? Yeah, that's a fair comment. All right, thank you all, and I'll see you all again.
Are you going to hang around in case you want to rebut?
Sure, yeah, I don't mind,
Okay.
yeah.
Committee. Lenny, any comments? Dion? Deborah? Jim?
You'll have your opportunity.
We're going to start, we'll start now with public. So we need to what? What are we doing next? That's where we're going. Okay, we're not doing any votes. Oh, we're not closing this. Okay. Okay, sorry. It's getting my bedtime again. All right. Now that we've heard from the presenter, we are going to have two separate groups. I'd like to hear from those people who are in favor of the project. When you come up here, you have 2 minutes to speak, and please, don't repeat what the last person said, because we're taking notes and we're recording this. So try to give us new information if possible. May I see a show of hands of those who are in favor of this proposal? Is there anybody here who would like to speak on that? There is? Okay. So then I'll ask it again. Anybody here to speak in favor of this? Hearing none, I'm now going to go on. Is there anybody here?
Questions? As far as questions, since this is an introduction, is it only opposed or?
No. Everybody's voice will be heard. You just pick one if you just have a question. Those people who are opposed, can I just see a show of hands? So, okay. Look how many people are here. Hopefully we'll get through this before 10 o'clock. So I ask you, please try to speak as concisely, and we're going to start now.
And Mr. Chairman, just to clarify what you mentioned, and one of the residents in the back said, if you just have comment, you can speak at any point. Just come up in the order. If you just have comment, you're not for, you're not against, but you want to speak, just come up and speak. Okay?
How you doing? My name's Joshua Gutman. I live at 620 Silver Street. It's actually right next door to the church. And I think I speak for everybody. You know, this is a big inconvenience for a lot of reasons, and I do agree with Miss Lamberti. I am the house that's right next door, and I've been watching like them bring all the dirt, bring everything else there. I recently just moved in. I bought the house last year, and I didn't know what was going on with the church, but I'm sorry. It's going to be a little too much for, you know, flow of cars coming in, different people coming in, and also the construction's going to be a lot. You know, you don't know what hours they're going to be working. Some of us have kids, small kids, and I'm also like you said, sir. I'm a title searcher, and he said he did the search on the house. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to come back here at 8 a.m. I'm going to do the search myself because I'm kind of curious on what there was, even though I didn't find anything. But yeah, I just wanted to speak first because I live right next door, and I just don't see this kind of working out. I just see multiple, like, just trash everywhere. I see cars parked in front of my house when there shouldn't be. I just don't see how this could work out.
Could you
Please do not speak out if you're not up here at the microphone.
spell your name for me?
You're being rude.
My
to the
name is
person.
Joshua Gutman, Joshua. Gutman, Guttman.
Okay, thank you.
620 Silver Street. Thank you. Thanks, board.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Suzanne Swain, and I am from the 20 Masna Place location, which is actually on the east side of this property. So my backyard butts up completely to this property. I'm on the corner of Masna and Silver Lane. My concern is exactly what this gentleman said. The traffic, the assumed traffic that will come in, if we look at it from a logical point of view, 2 or 3 cars per unit, 15 units, and as I was told before, it might be 3-story units, apartments. It's like an apartment building, 2 or 5 apartment buildings. Now, there was so many changes because I was here for the first 2 meetings, and I spoke on the first meeting. The second one, we weren't allowed to really speak from the public. But it was a different story then. The lawyer that was here before, I can't remember his name, that was here speaking for the other property, he said it was going to be 5 units, 5 dwellings, and the church and the rectory. And they were going to probably be about a 1/4 acre each. So no issues, don't worry, it's pretty simple. Well, it's not, because now it's gone from triple the size of the number he said. And it affects my property, the neighbors are here, their properties. There's a lot of wildlife that is out there. It's beautiful to look. We have mating hawks. We have any animal that you can think of, we have. And they stay in that area. And I understand that the property is bought and it's their money that they've spent. But to tear out all of the vegetation to replant a border, we're not getting any schematics on this. How high is this border that they're going to put? Because I have a picture of the backyard, and my trees are all mature. That's blocking it. It's a beautiful sight to see, and it would be a shame to lose all of that matured trees, blooming trees, to just a little 3-foot border because of it's vague. It's very, very vague, the comments. Oh, we're going to put borders, don't worry about it, brush that to the side. Well, guess what? We can't brush it to the side because there's going to be a congestion of traffic that, I mean, I do my math correctly. I might not be good at it, but it'll be 3 cars per unit. That's a lot of cars. We're already in a congested area in the mornings just to go off to work and school. We're hitting the light, and we're waiting there. And my concern is not just the fact that you're displacing the animals, because there's a lot of critters. There is, the hawks eat other critters. There's deers, there's everything under the sun. Where are they gonna go once there's no vegetation? They're gonna come into our homes, which is the neighboring homes, and cause property damage, which I've already experienced the other day when we decided to go through our sheds and stuff. They're seeking shelter now. No one's gonna pick up the tab on what we do now when our houses get damaged. For tiny homes. I apologize. But please take this into consideration, because tiny home, village, it is the trend that will disappear maybe in 3 years. And we have to stay with the ramifications of it, okay? So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elson Stoddart. I'm probably the oddball here because I live across the street in Bridgeport. I've been in this neighborhood for about 20 years. It is a safe neighborhood. It is one where we all get along and we respect our environment. One of my concerns right now is, and it's already been mentioned, traffic. We have little kids who take the school bus. We have people that speed down that street as it is, and they shouldn't. We also have a concern about foot traffic. A lot of people like to get up in the morning or in the evening and walk. My biggest concern right now happens to be with the safety of the neighborhood, and that there are going to be too many houses in that area. I live across the street from that church. Nice and quiet. We should not have to put up with more homes in that area. We don't know who is going to live in any of those apartments. There are children in the neighborhood, and people have to be concerned about who moves in and what their history is. So I'm saying that from a perspective of someone who has worked with children and continues to. So that is my concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carlos Pires. So I live down the road from the church. I do share the same concerns as both people came here. One, the traffic, with the traffic light by Main Street, it's, with additional cars, there's definitely gonna be an issue. Down the street where I live, so I just bought my house about a year ago, and did renovations. I'm in the corner. I have constantly seeing people walking down the streets, and that's something very beautiful, because I left a neighborhood that was so populated in traffic. You couldn't see that. People actually walking their dogs, having their kids in front of their house. That's something very beautiful that a town should be proud of. Not quite sure about these apartments that are going to be there. The zoning for it, are they going to be multifamily? Are they considered multifamily? If this passes along, is there going to be other areas of Stratford or other vacant lots that could also be added apartment to it? So since this is introductory, hopefully the next time you guys could have answers for that. And talking about the animals, I actually have a groundhog living under my shed. In the beginning, I felt very weird about it, but I appreciate the fact that there's animals around my house. And yes, I believe with all this construction going on, there's going to be some issues that are going to happen in our neighborhood. So hopefully in next meeting, we'll have more answers.
If I could just comment, they're condos. They're single-family condos from what I've understood so far.
Single-family condos, however, I believe the gentleman said.
The church is being turned into 3 apartments, but the other buildings are.
Yes, those 3 apartments. That's going to be right where the church is located?
It's going to be in the church. They're going to renovate the church to.
So is that considered a multifamily then? I mean.
No.
A 3-unit multifamily, so then that zone is not just for single family, it's for a multifamily zoning.
It's a development, that's what he's coming in for, which could include both.
And we need your address.
15 Ruby Lane.
Next.
Good evening. My name's Art Bertolino. I live at 325 Cannon Drive. My property, I can see the church from the back of my house. And my concerns is, what about our property values with this influx of all these homes in one spot? I'm in the construction industry for over 30 years. Condos aren't generally built well or made with union labor, because I am a unionist. Okay, I'm worried about the quality. They're usually always cookie cutter stuff. What about my property values? And does the current infrastructure can handle all this stuff they want to put in? It's a lot of drainage, a lot of water, a lot of gas. Where is is the infrastructure capable of handling all this stuff? I mean, I can see a couple of units going there, but you want to put 7 units in 1 acre. That's a lot. That's a whole lot of stuff in one spot. Now, if trends are, and other towns are doing this, we're not other towns, it's Stratford. I don't care what other towns are doing. I care about what we're doing. Okay, so Beacon Falls is doing something, or this town's doing something, good for them. That's not here. There's already condos at the top of Silver Lane already. There's a lot of people there, and it's already been mentioned, the traffic is horrendous. If you're out there between 2 and 4 o'clock, you can't even get out to Nichols Avenue unless you go to the light. Then there's always lines, and Holy Lane and Nichols Avenue and Silver Lane, it's one of the most dangerous intersections we have, even though they've done reconstruction there with all the lights and stuff. It's still crazy. People run the lights all the time. So you add all these people into that little area, it's going to bring down our property values, and like you said, who's going to come and live there and be respectful of the environment? And also my question is, that's power company property too. Has that been addressed? Is the power company going to allow this within so many feet of their lines? That's kind of what I'm wondering about too. So these are kind of questions I have, and hopefully they can be answered in, a proper way. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Abigail Alvarez Quiles, and I live at 40 Masna Place. Abigail. Alvarez Quiles. Can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. It's kind of weird. Okay. So I live at 40 Masna Place. My house is, or my backyard, like faces the back of the church. So that's my, my yard. What can I say that people haven't already said? I think some of the major points that I took away from when the attorney was speaking is that it's not a big deal. Well, or it's not that complicated, right? It is complicated. That's where we live. These people are coming from wherever they're coming from to develop this land. This is not your home. This is our homes. This is where we come. This is where we raise our families. And they're gonna come and completely change, like, what we look at every day. I go into my backyard with my cup of coffee and look at all the beautiful lands. I look at all the beautiful animals. These animals are gonna be displaced. Where they're gonna go. I have reindeer, we have rabbits, we have all kinds of animals. And to clear that land is just not fair to them, it's not fair to us. We live there. We're not saying that obviously they bought the land, they can do what they can do, but you're overdeveloping it. Like, who gives you the right to do that? That's where we live. To speak on trends, like some gentleman said, trends, okay, that's happening, but it doesn't need to happen in our town. It doesn't need to happen in our neighborhood. Go somewhere else with it. We don't want that. And we should have a vote. Our voices should count. I'm a social worker by profession. I'm here to advocate for myself, for my family, and for our neighbors. I do this for a living for my families. So to feel like your voice is not being heard or that someone else is gonna make a decision about where you live is difficult. It's hard, hard pill to swallow, as they say. But thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Lisa Cadron. I live at 610 Silver Lane, and I just want to say that I am a single parent. I have worked 2 jobs really hard to buy my house 17 years ago in this area, and I was very specific when I bought this house. I love the yard, I love the tranquility, I love the peace, I love the animals, and I chose that house because I wanted to put my daughter in the Stratford school systems, which we did. My daughter's now since grown. I have 3 actually 20-year-olds living with me. I'm a registered nurse. I service the town of Stratford. Nurses are very hard to come by in the Fairfield County area, and honestly, if this project goes through, as a single parent, between the traffic, between probably the house, the equity, the value, I don't even know where it's gonna take me after I've planned and and I've been doing this for 17 years with the hopes that I would retire there and either, later give it to my children or, whatever. I have not only myself, but I have 2 that work in the healthcare field. They work the overnight shifts. They sleep all day because people's lives are at stake, so they need their sleep, they need to get up in the morning, and they need to be able to go and they need to sleep all day and get up in the early evening to go to work in the overnight. And one works in the EREL and the other one works in a laboratory and assesses tissues for trying to see cancer cells. These kids need peace and quiet during the day. All of this construction and this disruption, they'll never get their sleep. There's just a whole lot that, besides the displaced animals, besides the noise, besides the chaos, there's already traffic. The parking's gonna be a nightmare. And because I have grown children, we have 4 to 5 cars, that have to park in front of my house right now because they're all going to school and working. And then now we have more people coming. And I'm one of the fortunate ones that actually has 1 to 2 acres of land in the back between mine and my neighbor. And all the kids have played there and they grew up there, and that's great. But when their kids get tired of the little small properties, do I have to worry that while I'm working that there's kids running around my backyard because it's a big yard and they don't want their little tiny house or yard that
Thank you.
Hi. Hi, I'm Alicia Huggins, and I reside at 15 Masna Place in Stratford. Across the street is Bridgeport. Up the street is Trumbull. We're kind of on the line. Where did we ever get the idea that it's okay, like, to build condos or whatever because it's within 500 feet of another town. It doesn't sound very neighborly, does it? Just to reiterate what people have said about the wildlife, we have bobcats. I've got a picture on my phone of a bobcat crossing the street. We've had coyotes where you could hear the babies, but coyotes when they're, growing up and bouncing around. We have all kinds of wildlife, deer, and just everything, which we love. All of us love that. But to put it more in monetary terms, these houses in this area of Stratford, Masna Place, Timber Ridge, go for a lot of money these days. The house next door to my house sold for $455,000. The next house over, $500,000. People care about their property. Their property is worth something. It's an investment that these people have in their homes. We don't want to be in a situation where we're going to be inundated with traffic, inundated with trash. We don't want this at all. I'm interested about them not saying that there's no wetlands, because having walked my dogs all over that property, or at least in the back, down in the bottom as it exits onto Sorghum, there is a path where there's water when it rains a lot, and it's considered wetlands. Right, guys? Yeah. So, maybe they're not counting. Maybe they say, well, that's 15 feet in from the street, so therefore it's town property and not ours. You don't know what they're coming up with, but it might be something like that. This was kind of like a little holy place, this church that was in our neighborhood. It was kind of like, they had bingo and they had prayers, and we really don't want to see it go this way. It sounds like,
Excuse me?
with this map, it sounds like it would be something like Stony Brook or something, So, I don't know if I'm right about that. If it would be like, like Stony Brook is all those little houses, right? This is a very bad idea to do this to the residents of Stratford.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Barbara Mizak, and we live on Sorghum Terrace. And I have lived there, I'm dating myself now, for over 50 years. As the gentleman mentioned before, Holly Lane was a horse path when I moved there. My street was a dirt road. It's changed. Now it takes me 4 cars to get out of Silver Lane. I don't even go that way anymore. And I'm finding cars coming down our street to try to take a shortcut to get to Nichols Avenue. Anyway, what I don't understand, it seems like here in Stratford, if we don't like something, we go and we try to redistrict it. We have 24 districts, and it seems like a town of about 50,000 people, we can't fit our needs into the existing 24 districts and standards that we have. We have to go create something else. I just don't understand it. It's not the town I grew up in, I can tell you that. Thank you.
Shakira Swain. I live at 20 Masna. My mother's...
One more time.
I'm Shakira Swain. I live at 20 Masna. My mom was previously up here. So I just wanted to bring up the fact that we were already here, I think, twice already in front of you guys, and the plans have changed twice. So there's no clarity on what is going to be, what's coming next in provisions. There's no communication. It's a halfway sign on the tree. A couple people got a letter, a couple people didn't get a letter. So there's no organization and there's no actually, I feel like, trust between if you guys are the developer or if he is going to be the remaining lawyer. There was a different lawyer. There's no clarity on what's going to happen, and I feel like there should be just a step more. There's no physical, if this is really the introductory and this is finally what it's going to be, then where's going to be like a line of communication between that property and the rest? I don't know if there's regulations that they have to go by or what, but we're all professionals in the area, so I feel like they should be professionals as well. No? Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Pat Testa, and I live on Woodmere Road, which is in Bridgeport, right down the street from the church. But my family, where I grew up over 60 years ago, was on Silver Lane, and the neighborhood, we used to have horses in my backyard, and I know things change. I get that, but as I've talked to people in the neighborhood, and a lot of them have been there for many years, whether it's Bridgeport, Trumbull, or Stratford. And it is a shame that they're using Bridgeport as like a scapegoat for whatever this ruling is. You know, it's kind of sad that that's happening to me. Personally, I feel like that. But one thing that I find really disturbing is when you talk about this, so many people who've been there for years, I hear them say, that's it, I'm selling, I'm out of here. You know, and it's a shame that people have been there and it's their home, and like everybody here, you know, appreciate the neighborhood that we have, that people are gonna leave because somebody comes in and just wants to cram for money, let's face it, as much as they can into, you've been there, drove through the back, it's not that big, to just cram all this stuff into a little area that does have wetlands, wildlife, and, you know, you could just destroy the whole little nice neighborhood that we have there. It's not, you know, these big, you know, homes that they have. It's just nice little neighborhood that I think this potentially could just destroy what we currently have had and have had for years there. And it has changed, but like, do we have to change it now to that, you know? That's my little piece, but I definitely agree with what everybody else has said here tonight.
Thank you. Oh.
My name is George Syvac. I live at 115 Timber Ridge Road. I've been in my house for 30 years, and you guys want to change the zoning. I brought a Kohler Farms garage. I had to put it 120 feet back from the road. You're shoving 10 houses in a little area. What's the size of these lots? What's the size of these?
We don't answer those questions. We're not presenting. We're doing what you're doing.
Can they answer my question?
You know when you're done.
All right, but you guys are changing the zoning, am I correct?
No, we're not doing anything.
The applicant.
If it's approved, you're gonna change the zoning.
I don't know if we're gonna change it or not. We may vote no. We have to wait for inland wetlands. I hope so.
Well, I'd just like to say, I had to put my garage, little garage, Kohler Farms garage, 120 feet back from the road. You're putting houses closer than that.
Good evening. My name is Greg Root. I live at 131 Green Valley Road. Bottom of my hill is basically where the church is. I just found out about this 2 days ago because somebody stuck in the mailbox about, you know, what they were going to do. Now, The street that I live on in Green Valley Road, I've lived my entire life, 66 years. I was first child that's born on that street. 10 years after that, they squeezed in Blueberry Lane between Silver Lane and Green Valley. 20 years ago on McCallum's farm, 20 years ago, when he died and he added in his will that they couldn't do anything to that property for 10, 15 years afterwards, then his grandkids and kids tried to, they sold it and they wanted to steal a go-kart track, which the town denied because of the noise or whatever. So then they decided to build a street, Penny Lane. First they wanted 21, 23 houses. You guys cut it down to 16, 18. But then he jumped it because all one-level ranches, they went double, which, my father, that was a 100% disabled vet, obviously we were spoiled because we had horses from McCallum's farm. And then when they built the second levels on backyards, looked straight down. And at the time, my father was so upset about it, he didn't even wanted to buy the house that go properly with that thing, to stick me in it, because at that time I found out I was going to have a child. But I don't see where there's even enough room and traffic. It takes me, even at noontime, from Green Valley Road, a good 10, 15 minutes to get out of my street to go, go on Nichols Avenue. Now, that was so bad that they added a traffic light at Silver Lane, figured that would slow it down. But then the state, because Nichols Avenue is a state road, decided to put that exit wider. Well, that's even more dangerous because now a lot of people, either if they know or don't know about it, they go down and all of a sudden we cut down to one lane, I don't know exactly, maybe 100 feet past Silver Lane. We're cutting each other off, and flying down. Like me, I've been there my entire life. I was the first person that was born in Green Valley. I'm the only one that's still on Green Valley from the original, because everybody else is, passed because it was built in December, 56. Now, obviously, I plan on staying there until I kick the bucket. But especially when I found out tonight that I'm not even touching the church, I don't know where they're going to squeeze these condos. And I think they squeezed enough out of that north end of Stratford. So I just wanted to, my 2 cents, that I've lived there my entire life, that, there's no room for it. And, traffic. And obviously we got the traffic because, Trumbull, stuck in the Marriott, Kohl's, well, Caldor's initially, but now it's Kohl's and, whole 9 yards. So I just, in one sense, instead of getting maybe like, squeezing in so they can make their money back for whatever they bought it for to try and make it a thing. If the town wants taxes, then, okay. Maybe do something with AFCO that's been sitting empty for 30, 40 years.
Feels good to stand up. Hi, my name is Holly Kessing. I live at 170 Val Drive, which I can see the church from my house. I would say a good 3/4 of the year. Miss the bells on every Sunday, seriously. I think we're all adults to realize that at some point, yep, they were going to move out, and now something else is going to be there. The problem is it definitely should not be 900 square feet, and when I was in the military, I lived in 900 square feet. That is tiny. That is probably, I'd say maybe half the size of what these houses are now. The majority of these houses are 1/4 acre plots, not 1 acre plots. The 1 acre plots, I can count them, I believe, less than, I believe there's like 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 of them along Silver Lane, and that's it. All the rest are small, 1/4 acre lots. We shouldn't, Silver Street added too much to that area. It's too much. We have cars going around not that long ago. I don't think anybody had the pleasure of being there when my neighbor Gus Kazvinsky almost got killed right at the corner of Sorghum and Val Drive because people fly around there now like the speed limit's 40 miles an hour. 25 miles an hour is too fast. We have enough trouble right now with buses and delivery vehicles, school buses. All of those side roads, the majority of them, they're very steep hills. You know, whenever there's an accident and it gets diverted, it causes, on our little side streets, it causes all kinds of problems. There are definitely water issues in the area. I've lived there well over 50 years, and in the past, I'd say the past 10 years, the amount of times that I've seen storms so bad where we have water shooting straight up in the air, I mean, okay, we could go through plenty of things. This is 15 houses too many. I mean, we'd probably we'd argue over 3 or 4. We would still argue to have 3 or 4 more just like us. Not this. This is going to be a thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now it's 7 plus 3 in the church. Anybody else? Final? Hearing. I'm going to close the public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry, we're leaving it open because of both of these issues. So will someone? Will someone make a motion?
Move to continue the public hearing till next meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes. Now I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to do a rebuttal? I can do it next meeting. Okay, we're cool. Our next meeting, sorry. We go back into little holes to hide until... Okay, shh. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not done. We have about 10 items on our agenda still. So we're trying to get done what we have by the end of the evening. Will someone give me a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, I'm going to give you...
And I just wanted to clarify, the commission is not voting tonight, so there's no need, if you want to hang around to listen to what we're the other things that
If I were you, I wouldn't.
But you can call the Office of Planning and Zoning, but everything's posted to the website as well. If you're can't find it on the website, call the Office of Planning and Zoning. We'll discuss it. We'll discuss it with you when you call. Thank you.
Yes.
No, we were... Please take your conversations outdoors. That means you. We are still meeting. Thank you. I appreciate.
Are we ready?
We are ready. Will someone give me a motion to open the administrative meeting?
So moved.
Everybody?
Motion. Oh.
Second.
5-0. Okay. What else do we need? Did we vote on the last? Did you approve minutes? Oh, okay. We have the 2 text amendments. Lenny, take one. Dion, take one.
All right, I'll do number 1.
Do we have to take them off the table?
No, we'll have to take it off the table. We never tabled it.
We
just
never
moved
tabled it.
All right.
Okay.
I thought I had it on. I shut it off. Make a motion to approve the extension of the moratorium on the methadone clinics to, what was it, 2015?
2020.
To October 15th, 2025.
October 15th, 2025.
Any discussion?
Wait, do we have to say, if, if another commission, or at a later date, if we decide to lift it?
They can bring it up again and on their own decide to end it, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. At any point, you all can decide that you want to rescind it, and you can. You don't need to list that as a condition.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to add that anytime we're adopting considering adopting a text amendment, we should always state for the record the reason. It's either consistent with the plan of conservation and development or inconsistent. And I give that guidance in my staff comments, but I think you all know.
So amend yours and
Consistent to our plan of development.
the POC, consistent with our POCD.
We need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next one. Dion.
I motion to approve the petition of Stratford Zoning Commission seeking to extend the moratorium on self-storage facilities, seeing that it is in compliance with the POCD's current.
Anybody second that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Okay, what else do we have here? The minutes.
Move the approval
No,
of minutes
Mrs.
from
Deborah, Deborah, wait, come on. Don't take
Actually,
her-
I scared her because I couldn't find my minutes, so I asked her to resend them, and she said, "Oh, I thought you." So,
All right.
nevertheless, motion to approve the minutes.
Wait, I can't find my copy, but it,
No,
There's a
the
mistake?
minutes.
well, it said that the proposal that I made about the accessory apartment thing, that I wanted it to be a family member. But there had been, yeah, but
We actually took that out of it.
Yeah, good. All right,
Everywhere else.
because
but-
I didn't, that wasn't what, I might have said that, but I didn't mean to say that. I didn't want to.
So do we have to vote on?
I don't know if I did or if I did, I didn't mean to.
You didn't mean to.
Because I even in my. Yeah.
The ADU minute. Oh, it's not in the document. We took it out of the document, right? So it's not in the actual text for ADU.
Because I know it's not in
only
my
in the
notes.
minutes.
It's like with
It's
the
only in the
notes that I
minutes.
wrote about that I,
So Deborah's going to give us a motion to remove that from the minutes, and we're all going to say yes. and
does
then-
not need to be.
Remove the family.
Yep, okay. Second that, someone?
Second?
Okay, Jim seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 5-0. What else do we have here?
The campsite plan review for 24 Washington Parkway and 4060 Beach Drive can be continued to the next zoning commission
Okay,
meeting.
so do we need to vote on that? No. No. ADU referred to,
Just a quick 1-minute update. We referred the comments and modifications to the Stratford Housing Partnership. They asked for a bit more detail and rationale as to why these changes were being made. And
it wasn't they. That's all I'll say. Go ahead.
And so, I gave the reason that, look, we feel that it's not flexible enough to allow people to age in place and be able to stay in their homes and keep families together. That didn't satisfy some of the members. They wanted a bit more rationale. This doesn't comply with the law anymore. We have to change section C because we're changing section B. And so I just went into a bit more detail. I've referred that to the Housing Partnership for consideration, and we'll wait to hear back.
But we scared
you,
them. They realize there's a lot of work to be done, so that's good. Anything else? We're not doing anything on Silver Lane? No zoning enforcement, no other items? Then guess what?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let Jay have it. I'm sorry.
Well, I just wanted to add that we have selected our consultant for the update of the zoning regulations. We'll probably be meeting with them. The contract has been signed, so they are officially working with the town. I'm not sure they're going to be attending our next administrative meeting. I think we'll all anticipate having more of our administrative meetings that second Wednesday of the month. They're probably going to come early on to let you all know, hey, this is kind of how we envision it.
Jay, I have a question. Could we do those on Zoom or on whatever?
Sure. We could.
I'm not doing so. I won't be.
Well, then forget it. We can't do that. Not all of our meetings, just these regular meetings that we're going to have to do once a month. All right, okay.
We will be meeting with the applicant, we'll be meeting with the consultant maybe next month, early on in the month, or maybe the following, depending on how we get everything to line up. They'll give a little overview of what they can expect over the next year, what you can expect. And I think they'll probably end up meeting with us just when necessary. I don't think it's going to be every month. There are sometimes they may meet with us twice a month. There are sometimes they may not meet with us for a month or two because they're fact gathering, they're doing research, and we're not going to meet just for the sake of meeting. So that's the only update I have for that.
Hey, I left my cell phone, so it's okay.
Mr. Chairman, seeing no other business before the commission, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.